What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Blazers Uprise. It's not Blazers Uprise Podcast anymore. I got the text up there saying Uprise Podcast, but it's now Blazers Uprise Live. We're doing a little bit of a rebrand with it because it's not really a podcast. It's more of a live show. We got Eric Brandt in his Hornets gear. Hopefully my mic is working. Let me make sure it is. I think it is. There we go. All right, we're good to go. No audio problems off the bat. That's first. Yeah, we got Eric. He literally went out and bought Hornets gear just because he was the Hornets. No, I'm just kidding. He found it.
Vintage on eBay.
He found it. He found it. He's not taking it that seriously. But when I saw it, the thought went through my head like, this man's gonna rep the Hornets now.
My daughter's never seen this stuff because it was buried in my mom's garage, and she was like, "Did you actually pay for that?"
Like, you got the hat and the jacket. That's why I was surprised.
Yeah, I got the starter jacket. I don't know if this was mine or my brother's, but yeah.
I like their branding back then, man.
Yeah.
They've kind of,
Me
I
too.
don't know, like their colors like work well for a retro team. I like their branding now too. You know, it's more modern. I don't think that's something you should go back to if you're them. But let me tweet out this stream link. Let me minimize this so people can still see your beautiful Charlotte Hornets gear. And let me tweet out this link because I have not tweeted it out. Let me post it in the Discord. If you want to join our Discord, ask me for a link and I'll give you one. And tonight we're just going to be chilling. You know, this is a late stream. Had something pop up right before we were going to stream earlier. So tonight we're just chilling, talk about what you guys want to talk about. We can talk about the Jordan documentary, even though I didn't watch it. Eric, did you end up watching that?
I have not watched it yet either.
I'll just watch a rerun at some point. I know Twitter was watching it like crazy.
Mini-Tooth is asking for a link for the Discord.
All right.
Yeah,
Eric,
join us.
can you create links, Eric?
I can't post them. It won't.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. I'll give you a link.
I can create it. I just can't, it won't show up.
Yeah. Which, it's probably a good thing that YouTube automatically doesn't allow links. I wouldn't want to allow links anyway. I wish I could allow it for you or something. But if you go rogue, that could be a problem.
So the story behind my gear is in the mid-'90s, I was a huge Larry Johnson fan. And that team was pretty cool with Alonzo Mourning and Kendall Gill and Muggsy Bogues and all that. And they kind of became my secondary team for a while. And so I had a year or two period where I bought some Hornets gear and then, yeah.
All right, let me create that link. Invite people. Copy link. There we go. I'm being efficient with it.
What's up, People's Mix?
And
What's up, Destro?
There's the Discord invite link. I know Discord's going to be active once we get back to basketball too, which will be cool. That's kind of the hope because I wasn't really that into it. I don't know. I didn't use it. I didn't keep track of it. I created it for the channel and then I didn't keep track of it. But after this whole mock off season, I think people are a lot more into Discord and know how it works and that type of stuff. And, so it'll definitely be something that in the future we'll use heavily and just, it's a place where the community can hang out. So
absolutely.
Definitely gotten to know some of your guys' personalities a little bit better from this mock off season. So that's
cool. Everyone that tuned in to go, good night, everyone.
He already tuned in. Wow, you tuned in at least he tuned in. Have a good night, bro. Man's on that homework grind, on that school grind, that online school. So yeah, we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. We'll talk a little bit about the free agency setup for our mock off season. But really we're just chilling. We don't have much planned. That's why the title of this was I don't know what to title these streams anymore, but I wanted to go live for you guys, Monday, Friday, like I said, even though I wasn't able to go live earlier. So we're just chilling. We're just hanging out. We can talk about draft prospects too, since the draft is out of the way. Now I can start talking about a couple guys. Maybe I'll start off with that. So I don't know if you watched any footage on that Euro guy drafted. Have you? Did you end up like
Yeah.
looking him up? What do you think? Do you see what I see, like, or not at all?
Um, I kind of think he plays like you, so I can see why you like
Plays
him.
like me.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to tell against the competition he was playing against. In most of the videos I watch, so
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's going to be athletic enough to be super good, but I mean, all you really need to do to make it in the NBA like that is to be a lights out shooter. So
hmm
if he can do that, I think he'd have a place in the league for a while.
I just like his. So we're talking about God. How do you say his name? Georgios Kalizakis or something. It's like a second round target. He's like not even projected to get drafted, but he's in the draft, and I was watching tape on him, and I honestly think he's like a borderline first round prospect in this draft. 6'7" guy from Greece. He has a 6'11" wingspan, so if he adds some strength, he could play small forward and he can shoot the ball. Like, I like his level of craft. He can handle the ball, make plays for others. Very skilled. There are questions about his athleticism, but I think he has just enough burst to be able to make things work, especially if he's playing at small forward. It's a little bit easier. You don't have to be quite as quick as if you're playing a guard spot. But he has like a good enough shot that I think he'll be able to shoot at the NBA level, and then if he gets ran off the line, he can really make plays. And so after this podcast, if you're bored as hell and want to watch film on some obscure prospect, go watch that guy, because I'm really high on Kalizakis. Portland has a second round pick this year, so there are going to be some second round prospects. We haven't really scouted second round prospects in years prior because Portland trades
Yeah.
away all their second round picks. But this year they got the 44th pick if the season ended today. So it actually makes sense to scout some second rounders. And as part of this mock off season, people have started scouting not only guys at the top of the draft, guys in the mid first round, but there's like Thomas Aransky says Mason Jones. I'm gonna keep plugging that pick because I'm proud of it. That's his sleeper. Like, people are finding sleepers right now, so I think that's
like
gonna be
that.
pretty cool once the draft rolls around. I think there's gonna be a lot of fans that participated in this mock off season that, as part of the mock off season, scouted guys to make picks for their teams in this mock off season that are going to end up having knowledge about prospects, about a bunch of different prospects. So once the draft rolls around, we'll bring that knowledge like we always do, but then the chat is going to be very knowledgeable as well. And that's kind of what I was hoping to get out of this mock off season, is people understanding the CBA better, and people, doing some scouting and getting some knowledge on some of these draft picks. So I think that's a pretty cool part of this whole thing that we're doing.
And the guy we'll have the most knowledge about is Io.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks to Ben CJ.
I'm surprised nobody spited him and drafted him.
I know, I was expecting it. People were joking about it before it got to the 49th pick. I know Doge was saying he was going to take him at 48 just to spite him, but
That would have been funny. That would have been funny. I mean, Ben's like guaranteeing me he's a future NBA star, and Ben's a huge Illinois fan. He's trying to tell me at the same time that he's not biased. Ben, you're a little bit biased there, buddy. He has some intrigue. Ao would be a guy. I don't know. Like, he would be a guy that I wouldn't mind Portland taking a chance on, just because he's like a big third guard who can defend a little bit and has some potential. Is just kind of like an all-around scorer, a little bit of a facilitator. Like, I see the intrigue in him. I think he should go. I think
don't
he
like
should.
the shooting though.
In real life, he should. Yeah. I mean, he shot better his freshman year. Shot like 35%. Then that cratered to 29% this past year. So I think he needs to go back to school, work on his shot, show he can knock down perimeter shots at a consistent rate at a high level in college. Because, like, I think he'd go back to Illinois, and I think he has the potential to, like, really show out and really make a leap in production and maybe lead that team to a little bit of a Cinderella run in March Madness next year, if there is a March Madness. And then that would get him possibly taken in the first round, even though the draft is better. Like, I feel like he's one of those guys that could show out in March and raise his stock because of that. But he's testing the waters right now. He should go back to school, though. He's like one of those guys. It doesn't make a lot of sense for a lot of prospects to go back to school because this year's draft is weaker than next year's draft. So guys, equal players are going to get drafted higher this year than they are next year just because of the difference in draft class quality. But there are certain guys that I think if they go back, they have the talent to they have the talent and potential to really improve and really raise their stock, even though next year's draft class is better.
A lot of it's going to depend on what they're doing right now, though, because I could see a lot of people just kind of, I don't have a gym to go to, and just getting kind of lazy. So it's going to really show who has that drive to be great and who's going to be. And I'm not saying anyone in particular is going to have that, but there's going to be some people that are going to come back 20 pounds heavier and out of shape, and it's going to take them a while to get back into it, and they didn't really work on anything because they didn't have any coaching during the off season. So yeah, it'll be really interesting. That's one of the reasons why, in addition to what you were saying about the weaker draft this year, is as long as this goes on, you can't really get in the gym and work on stuff with your coaches. So you might as well come out now while people don't know about certain skills or certain things you need to work on and get drafted at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, and especially if there's no workouts, you can't really show your flaws in workouts right now either. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting if the draft happens sooner than later. How many of these guys just get drafted based on potential? It's almost like a high school only draft where you can't see any of them work out,
That's why you're going to have a ton of surprise picks, and you're going to have just a lot of randomness in this draft just because of those factors, and teams not being able to scout the same. It's going to be a very interesting draft whenever it is. Who knows when it is? But
speaking of drafts, we got the NFL one Thursday.
Yeah, I'm really hoping the Niners don't trade the 13th pick. We really need to take a receiver there. Trade the 31 down unless there's a can't miss prospect there. Because they have fine depth, I get wanting more picks in the middle rounds, but their depth is fine. You probably want to get more top end talent than depth, in my opinion. Yes, you can hit with a second, third, fourth rounder. You could get a Fred Warner or a guy like that in those rounds, but I think you got to wait and see. I think you got to keep 13, take a receiver, because that's the one area they really lost on with losing. They needed Emmanuel Sanders, or they need a replacement for him. I don't think you can lose Emmanuel Sanders and not replace him with a wide receiver that's ready to step in and play a ton right away.
Yeah, I'm holding out on Judy or Lamb.
Yep.
I'm going to be disappointed if we don't get one of those two.
Looking forward to watching some sports content, though.
Yeah.
But yeah,
so Damian Mudez keeps on mentioning Okoro in the draft thread. So we have no chance of getting him if we don't move up to fourth. And if we move up into the top three, I don't think we would take him top three. So I don't even know if we take him fourth.
You know how pissed I would be if we traded up to fourth just to take Okoro?
Yeah.
I would be so pissed. He's literally no better of a prospect than Nasir Little. He might be a worse prospect. I'm not high on Okoro at all. He's not in my top 10 prospects.
He's really climbing draft boards, though.
I don't get it. The guy can't shoot, and when you watch him shoot, that shot is broken. If he could shoot, I could see the intrigue because he can handle the ball a little bit, and he can take guys off the dribble and make plays a little bit, strong finisher, but he just reminds me of Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist was never even starter quality, in my opinion. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist couldn't shoot at all, and it literally made it so he was a reach it too.
That, yeah, but his shot, that's a broken shot. Okoro's not that bad. Dude, I mean, it's bad, but it's not.
It's not as aesthetically bad, but the movement on his release.
Yeah.
Unless he really fixes that, there's going to be no chance that he becomes a decent shooter, because you have I don't even know how to explain it. He pops his elbow out in a weird way and rotates his hand through the he has a lot of arm rotation on his shot. I don't even know how to explain it. I hate Okoro's shot. He really, really cannot shoot. And if he cannot shoot, I don't think he's going to be that good of an NBA player, because he can handle the ball a little bit and make plays a little bit, which you like that ability out of a like big defensive minded wing. But if he can't shoot, he's not going to be able to put those skills into use because guys are just going to sit in the paint on him. He's not going to be able to create collapse of defense. Guys are just going to sit and let him come at him, and you can't really effectively create shots or take us off the dribble that way. So without a jump shot, I don't see him being worth the 4th or the 5th pick. Like, I could be wrong on this. But honestly, if he develops a jump shot, I'm not even wrong. Because if he develops a jump shot, then he would be worth 4th or 5th. I just don't think he's going to develop.
If he had a jump shot, he'd probably be the number 1 pick.
Yeah,
because he's the best defender at the perimeter, at least. Yeah. In this draft.
I just think he's somebody that's just going to be an absolute negative on the offensive end.
Mike Roskowski says he's Roberson, but he's so much better of a finisher than Roberson. Can't drive and finish at the hoop. He was just like a spot up shooter who couldn't shoot. No. I think he's much more Andre Iguodala, who made it in the league a long time without really being able to shoot jumpers very well. Andre's is a little better, I guess, jump shooter, but I think that's kind of his best player comparison. So it was fitting that the Warriors took him because he could be their little.
Ben says Ben Simmons. Well, Ben Simmons is a much, much, much better ball handler and passer than Isaac Okoro is, and Ben Simmons is 6'10", and Ben Simmons is quicker. Like, Ben Simmons is not a good comparison. Like, Ben Simmons is like a unique case, and there's still questions about how does he fit with Embiid. Is he the right like second player to have next to Embiid? And that's Ben Simmons, like 6'10", like point forward, great passer. Like, you know what I mean? Okaro's never even going to be that. Isaiah Thomas, I don't know what Isaiah Thomas. You're comparing him to Okoro? I'm confused with that one. Kawhi Leonard had a bad shot. Kawhi Leonard's shot wasn't Okoro level bad though, in my opinion. And Kawhi Leonard's form wasn't Okoro level bad. My opinion, Kawhi just brought it back too far. Once he brought it forward, Kawhi's shot was money. Like, he ended up bringing it back too far. So if you watch his college tape, you getting hot.
Dude, it's so hot.
If you watch Kawhi Leonard's college tape, man, he like shoots the ball from like way back, like almost behind his head. Literally the only change that he really made was bringing it forward. So like everything else was the same. His release was like forward. His release was pretty straight. The problem with the Okoro is like he has a lot of like sideways like arm twisting motion with his shot. So like Kawhi developed a good shot. I don't see Okoro being the same way in that regard. Like, if I don't know, there's so many guys that can like defend at a good level that can also shoot in this draft. I don't know why you're gonna take Okoro that high, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm at 4 or 5 and I want a player like Okoro, I'm trying to trade down to like 11 or 12 and gain assets, and then taking a 3-and-D guy. Like, honestly, in this draft, I think Patrick Williams might be a better prospect than Isaac Okoro. To be quite honest with you. I
completely disagree.
To be quite honest with you. Because Patrick Williams can defend well. He's not an Okoro level defender, but he's a good defender. A little bit longer. I really like Patrick Williams' defense, but then he can also shoot, and he can shoot a little bit off the dribble. Like, he has a good mid-range pull-up. Like, he doesn't have any craft to his game, but he does have the jumper, which if he can knock down jumpers consistently, can knock down pull-up, can take one dribble pull-ups and knock those down as well. Then really with him, you're just hoping, okay, hopefully he can turn that to like being able to attack the rim a little bit. I think that's a safer bet than hoping Okoro fixes that broken ass shot, in my opinion. So
I guess, I mean, I just looked it up. Williams shot 32% from 3. It's not like he was.
Yeah, he wasn't a great 3-point shooter, but his form isn't broken. You know what I mean? Like, I can see him improving. For Okoro to improve, he's gonna have to completely change his form. And a lot of guys, I mean, you look at Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, he never changed his form. You look at a lot of guys, they're not able to change their form. Either they're not willing to, or they're not like mentally able to do it. Like, Lonzo Ball is the exception with that. You know what I mean? But like, he was a good shooter in college. So, But I mean, you also got Patrick Williams. He also maybe look up what I don't know if you could look up what he shot on pull up mid range jump shots, but smooth pull up mid range shot. A lot of the scouting that I looked up on him said that was one of his strengths. So I'd rather take a chance with somebody like that at like 12 than taking a Caro at 4. Trade down to 12, maybe get a future first round pick and take Patrick Williams or somebody like that. You know, Devin Vassell if you like him, or there's like a lot of 3-and-D guys around there.
I think Patrick Williams is a borderline into the first, early second guy.
You're not a fan of him?
I would not take him in the lottery, no. I wouldn't take Vassell in the lottery either.
Yeah,
I think
I'm not as
they're
much
both
of a
kind of late first rounds.
Vassell fan.
This is no knock on Destrom either, but that was a good situation to take Vassell, that Celtics team that's kind of contending. That's a good fit. But yeah, those kind of guys don't have high upside to me. I think you're just picking a safe rotational player at that point. I'd rather take a chance on an Okoro figuring out his jump shot and being a star versus having a guy who's always going to be like your third best guard or forward on a team, if that makes sense.
But that's the type of thing you would have said about Kawhi Leonard coming into the draft. And look what happened with Kawhi Leonard. You know what I mean? Like Kawhi Leonard would have been the safe pick. Been.
I think Kawhi was more like a Okoro, in my opinion, than Patrick Williams.
I don't know. I mean, like Kawhi didn't show that much craft or that much ball handling ability in college. He showed a little flash here and there, but
he was a lockdown defender like Okoro is.
Yeah, but Patrick Williams is a really good defender as well. So, I don't know. With a guy like that, Patrick Williams is like, it's almost like free throw percentage is a good way. I'm gonna look up their free throw percentages because I'm just out of curiosity, because that's another way you can kind of project 3-point shooting.
Patrick Williams is at 83%, so that's good.
Yeah. Isaac Okoro was. Let me try and find it. I'm racing you.
I can look real quick.
I'm already on it. Isaac Okoro shot 67%, so actually that's not as bad as I expected from him. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I just have such bust vibes from Isaac Okoro.
True shooting percentage was better.
Isaac Okoro?
Yeah.
I mean, he's not. The thing is, he's efficient on a college level. I just have questions. Like, he's not going to have the same, like, athleticism and strength and size advantage inside in the NBA. And when you take that, like, massive advantage away from him, I could see him struggling. You know what I mean? He's going to have to adapt. He's going to have to be able to shoot. You know what I mean? He's been able to get away with just being able to, like, attack guys hard, and he's such, like, a physical specimen that he's able to, take advantage of that on the college level a lot more than he will be in the NBA. That's why somebody like Patrick Williams, I think his game maybe translates a little bit more evenly. Just because the type of shots he takes in college, the type of shots he gets in college are the same type of shots he'll get in the NBA. So he's not really going to have to change the way he plays that much, or he's just going to have to shoot a little bit better. But I like his form. Like, I think his form is clean, whereas Okaro's just broke. So that's kind of where I stand on that.
If we're talking about those kind of players, I like Sadiq Bey better than Patrick Williams and Devin Vassell and those kind of guys.
Yeah, I need to look more at Sadiq Bey. But yeah, I'm not. I know Ben wanted Okoro at 6, and Golden State took him at 5, and then Ben had to settle for Avdija. Avdija's a better prospect than Okoro.
Later, Dame Dollar.
Catch you later, Dame. Avdija is a better prospect than Okoro, in my opinion. I'm not like super high on Avdija like I was, but
it's hard because they're so different. Because Avdija is probably never going to be a good defender, and that's Okoro's biggest strength.
Yeah,
and then.
Well, also, like Luka Doncic is never going to be a good defender, and he's Luka. Right. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. One player can have more of an impact on an offense than they can on a defense. That's why offense is more valued.
Avdija's not as strong as Luka, though, so it's like
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I'm not saying he's Luka at
yeah,
all.
I'm just saying like part of Luca is like he can get away with being kind of unathletic because he can take contact and still finish and stuff like that. I don't see Abdia doing that as well, and that's why he's going to struggle a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like Abdia as a prospect too, especially in that 5 to 6 range.
Yep.
That would have been a tough choice for me if I was the captain. Um, I probably would have taken a Kongwu just because he traded away. Um,
Yeah.
he traded away Draymond Green, and then he has Kevin Love, who's more of a perimeter big. So I would have wanted more of a rim protector big. He also doesn't have Looney anymore, so I probably would have gone a Kongwu there. But yeah, it's hard to fault taking any of those guys. I think they're all decent prospects. But the problem is, in that range in a normal draft, you'd get a much better player like Trae Young or someone like that. Whereas this year, you're talking about guys who maybe are starter level if everything works out. It's really frustrating about this
Yeah.
draft.
I think
But there's so many of those guys. There's like 40 of those guys in this draft. So like it's like you said, it's hard to know where guys are going to go anywhere from like that 6 to 7 range to like early second round.
So I'm curious to hear what like your like top 5 or top 6 prospects are. I have my top 8. If you want to like hear mine first and then the gears or okay, so my top 8 prospects. Number 1, I have Anthony Edwards. I don't know if you've watched his like where he sits down with Mike Schmitz from ESPN, the former Draft Express guy, and like watches film of himself or whatever. But I watched that like the day after you ended up picking him number 1, and I like the vibes I get from. I think watching those can actually be really insightful because you got a guy who's a scout basically going through footage with them, and you can kind of see how they react to getting constructive criticism and seeing like their mistakes on film. Anthony Edwards has a ton of talent. Like his shot selection is a bit of a problem, and he even admitted that in that interview. And he was like really like he took constructive criticism well and was somebody who I don't know. I was just impressed by that interview, and I think he has a ton of raw talent. And if he like works on his shot selection and goes into attack mode more, I think he can be a really really good player. I think he has the most upside out of anybody in this draft.
Agreed.
Number 2, I have Wiseman. If you want to talk about any of these, just
Well, It's kind of hard. You just said Edwards has the most upside. It's kind of hard for me to tell if Wiseman has more upside or not, just because you've seen so little of him. Compared to you had 30 games of Edwards to watch and 3 of Wiseman at that level. So, but just some of the flashes he shows is incredible. So it's hard to differentiate between 1 and 2. Whether you want to, it's almost like the poor man's version of the Odin versus Durant thing. Like, do you want the big guy who's gonna physically dominate the middle, or do you want the wing who can control games? And that seems to be like the better way to build through the NBA now. But Wiseman could be a huge bust if he. Look at a guy like Harry Giles, who was a number 1 prospect like Wiseman, and I know that was mostly injuries, but he never really developed into the player he was supposed to be at that age.
That's an interesting comparison, but for Giles it was the injuries, but then also I think Wiseman's just bigger and more athletic than Giles.
Right.
Like if Giles had like Wiseman's height and athleticism, I think Giles would be possibly a borderline all-star because Giles is skilled. He's just like, he's not the best finisher. I think he's just a little undersized and doesn't have that athleticism that he needs to like make up for that lack of size. Wiseman has both. I think like Wiseman's like a legit 7-footer, and the way he runs the floor and how athletic he is, it's just like, honestly, I think he's a safer pick than a lot of other people seem to think, just because it's like you got a big, he doesn't seem, I don't know for sure, but he doesn't seem to have had like an injury history in the past.
Right.
So you got this big, he's 7 foot, 7'1", I've seen a couple places. Like he can
That's
get off
one
the
thing
floor.
real quick. about not having a combine measurement on any of these
Yeah.
guys to like judge that stuff. That would have helped a lot in some of these evaluations.
Hmm.
But
I mean, he gets off the floor quick, which bodes well for like being a rim protector. He's like, it looks like he could just put on a bunch of strength. Like he looks like he's built to just put on like 20 pounds of muscle in a year, right? So like physically, like with how big he is, his what I just looking at his frame, I think he could put on a lot of muscle, and then how athletic he is. I don't see him being anything worse than a good starting center, like who can protect the rim really well and be a floor runner and be a really good lob threat. Like I don't see him, unless he gets hurt, I don't see how he'd end up any worse than like a Clint Capella. Like that's his floor.
right,
You know, I mean, people talking about him like a risky pick just because he didn't play in college. It's like, I don't really see that. Like you just look at some of the bigs in the NBA that are good just because of like how athletic and big they are, and being able to like protect the rim. Like there's no reason Wiseman shouldn't be that. So like if he's able to add a jump shot, and then he's shown flashes of being like skilled. If he's able to add that skill to his game, then he could be really really good, all-star, maybe all NBA caliber big. So like he and Edwards are like in a different class to me. Like
Yeah,
I'm high
I
on
agree.
Wiseman. I'm
I
really high
got
on
both of
Wiseman.
them.
Yep. Yeah.
One thing about Wiseman that really stood out is the game hadn't really slowed down to him yet. And you could tell he was trying to do the right things, but was kind of out of position sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But he was so athletic that he still recovered and made the play, even though he wasn't in the right spots. And that's something, if he has that athleticism and like finds a way to be more court aware, he's going to be a monster to deal with.
Yeah, he's a presence. So that's like kind of my top tier. My second tier, I have two guys, which is Obi Toppin and Killian Hayes. We've talked about Obi Toppin all season long, just like super athletic, 6'9", can handle the ball a bit, can shoot a bit, shows flashes of being able to shoot off the dribble, unselfish player, shows some flashes of playmaking ability. Like I'm higher on Toppin than like his draft stock seems to be falling a little bit, which is weird to me. Just after the season he had and like how like safe of a pick he is, it's like, yeah, he's older, but you look at how much he improved just this past year at the age of 22 or however old he is.
Yeah.
Like he showed rapid improvement. So it's like you get him in the NBA with an NBA coaching staff, like you know the kid works really really hard. Like that's the only way he's going to improve as much as he did. So like you get him in the NBA coaching staff, his work ethic, the base of skills he has, there's no reason that he shouldn't be a borderline all-star to me. You know what I mean? Because he can shoot, he can finish really well, he can take guys off the dribble from the power forward position. Like I don't like, he has a high floor, and I don't think his ceiling is that low. Like I think he's probably the safest pick in the draft. I don't know. I really like Toppin. I know you feel the same way on him.
Yeah, I put Toppin third for sure as well. Yep.
And then fourth, I got Killian Hayes. I just quick trigger, smooth jump shot. I think he'll be a good NBA 3-point shooter. And then I like his craft. I like the way he's able to change speeds. I like kind of the pace he plays with. He's improved his playmaking a little bit. I know you're not as high on Hayes, but I get really good vibes watching him. Just like the creativity and the craft and the pace he plays with. In his defensive potential, he's already a good defender. I think he can be a guy that gets like 19, 20 points per game in his prime, and like 7, 8 assists, and defends at a really, really high level. And I think that's like better than what everything else you'd get below the top three.
Yeah, Trevin says top two Eric gets, next two Tori gets on his list. That's kind of funny though. We've talked about the top four, and both of us have two of those guys.
Yep. I mean, there's a reason I got Hayes.
Yeah.
Took him 7.
I definitely see why you think that way with Hayes. I wouldn't put him fourth just because I don't think his ceiling is like top end athleticism. And I also think it's there's so many good point guards in the NBA. It's hard to be like a star point guard because like almost every team has a good point guard.
Yeah.
and I don't know if he's going to be quite athletic enough. But then you look at his size and his ability to like work with that well and use that to his advantage. He's a pretty smart player already. So I definitely think Hayes is going to be good. I just wouldn't put him ahead of the a couple of guys in that tier, including Okongwu and probably Abdia slightly above him. But I think he's right there in that little next range. Yep.
Like I see like, okay, he doesn't have the burst that he needs to, which is one of my concerns with I forget who it was. But I can see like the concerns about his athleticism. But if you have a guy that's able to like shoot as quickly as he is and is as shifty as he is, and like I don't think he needs like that extra bit of burst, because he's going to have guys having to play up on him if he ends up being a good shooter, because he has a quick trigger and because he can, he likes step backs. He's good off step backs. He's good shooting off the dribble, that type of stuff. So you're going to get guys playing up on him. I think he'll be able to get into the lane. And then
we must have watched some different videos, because I watched a couple of videos where it showed him absolutely struggling to get to his spots against top teams and better defenders. So like he was getting to his spots versus like weaker competition. So hopefully he'll figure it out. I mean, he's super young, so like of course he can still get better. But when he stepped up to the harder levels and stuff, he was having a harder time getting open off pick and rolls and getting to his spots and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like that's something he's going to struggle with once he gets into the league. But like I like the base that he has there. I think he'll be able to sort that out because he's been improving pretty steadily. There's a reason he's risen up draft boards in the past 6 months. My fifth prospect is going to surprise you a little bit, I think. Fifth, I have Tyrese Halliburton. I don't know, man. He's a guy who can defend. He's a guy who can shoot. He has a weird shot, but he's really improved his shooting. Shot 42% this year. Can shoot off the catch, can play off the ball, but can also hit pull-ups off the pick and roll. That's something he struggled with early in the season, and he steadily improved on that. And I also watched his interview with ESPN, and it was actually a really good, interesting interview. Seems like a really well-spoken kid, like smart, like he plays smart. And he's just a guy who's 6'5", decent, like 6'7", 6'8" wingspan, point guard, can pass the ball. Can like the main issue with him is like he has a tendency to play a little bit timid, but when he decides to attack, he has some sneaky burst, can finish, can extend, finish. I don't know, I get good vibes of I get vibes just like that he could be an all-around player that's able to score on all three levels, that's able to defend, and I like those types of point guards. I kind of have a type, and you can kind of see it with like Killian Hayes and having Halliburton here. I like big point guards that can create for others, defend, and hit shots and play off the ball. Because then you can put any type of shooting guard you want next to him. You can have a CJ McCollum as shooting guard because your point guard's big enough to guard shooting guards, or they can guard point guards. They can take the best guard, and they can play off a guy like CJ, but they can also create, where a guy like CJ can struggle with that from time to time. Like, you can fit any shooting guard in next to a guy like a Halliburton or a Killian Hayes, in my opinion, if they pan out to what I think they're going to be. And I think that's valuable when you're building a team. I think that's kind of part of the reason I like point guards like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you keep mentioning those videos, because that's watching the video with Okongwu is when I fell in love with him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like Halliburton. He's one of those guys who's going to get lost in this draft, partly because of the injury, partly because like he's already a good scorer. He's not like, you're not like projecting with him, if that makes sense. Like he can already do that kind of stuff. So like I think he's going to come in and be able to score in the league right away. I don't know what he can do to fix that jump. He's got to get a quicker release on his jump shot.
He says he toys around with it a lot. That's what I got from that interview. But he even admitted he shoots his pull-ups differently than his catch and shoot. And I think he said part of that is like a little bit of a strength thing, like the way he brings the ball up, like is a little bit of a strength thing. So he needs to add some strength. But like you look at his pull-ups, dude. His pull-ups are quick, and he gets a lot of lift
Yep.
on them, and it's a lot smoother. And I watching footage on him, it's like, why doesn't he shoot his catch and shoot shots like that? You know what I mean? And I think
Yep.
he'll like make that adjustment as he gets into the league, and he's shown he can shoot with like a quicker release off the dribble decently, because like as the season went on, he was getting better and better knocking down those off the dribble shots. So I do have some hope for that.
What do you think his ceiling is?
Honestly, like he kind of reminds me a bit of Gilgeous Alexander.
Yeah.
Just like a player who doesn't who kind of plays at his own pace, but has that little bit of extra burst that they can, use if they need it, but they're not really ever out of control. Bigger point guard, shooting guard, can play on the ball, off the ball. It's kind of a slower jumper because SGA's jump shot isn't particularly quick in my opinion. He was a questionable shooter coming into the league, and that's part of the reason why he didn't go in the top 10. And then, he's shooting 36%. Doesn't shoot a ton, but shoots enough to make guys have to respect it. Shoots efficiently enough to make guys have to respect it. It opens up the rest of his game. So, I feel like I get some SGA vibes from Halliburton, but he does need to add strength to be able to get there. So, I guess that would be his ceiling.
Yeah. So it's not a bad comparison. I think SGA takes it to the hoop a little more, whereas Halliburton pulls up a little more. But overall, pretty close.
Yeah, well, to reach his ceiling, he's definitely going to need to be more aggressive and add strength. Part of that, I think, is adding strength. He's just too skinny right now. So I think as he adds strength, so he'll be better going to the hoop, be a little bit more aggressive, and he has a chance reaching that SGA level, that SGA is on right now, being like a almost 20 points per game guy in his second year, third year, second year. Yeah,
he just finished second year. Well, he's in it. Yeah, I don't know.
And Halliburton's still
I don't
young.
know what to say about that.
Halliburton's still young. I think people think he's older than he is because he's not a one and done guy. But his draft, in June, he still won't be 21. I think he turns 21 in September or something like that. So he's still 20 years old right now. So he's still young. He's as young as a Cole Anthony, I think. Or they're about the same age. So he's not as I thought Halliburton was 21, 22. He's only 20, so still got a lot of time to work on his issues. Sixth is Okongwu. I do have Okongwu sixth. Seventh I have LaMelo. And then eighth, I have Avdia.
Yeah, LaMelo. Ben tried to tell me that you were hoping to get LaMelo at 4, and that's when I knew he was.
I was not trolling you.
Once he said that, I was not going to trust a single word he said. Before that, I was kind of oh, I don't know if this guy's trolling me or what. Once he said that, I knew the jig was up, man.
That's funny.
I knew you weren't going to take LaMelo at 4.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm a team picking a 7th and he's there, okay, then I would gamble on that upside just over what's left. But there's such a high potential that he's never even as good as Lonzo is right now. Because part of the reason Lonzo is good is because he defends really well. And he's changed his shot. He's been willing to change his shot, and he's really improved his form, and it bodes well for his long-term shooting. With LaMelo, man, he has not been a good shooter playing pro ball at all. People look at him as being a better shooter than Lonzo, but just as they kind of progressed, he's a better LaMelo was the scorer. He was a better all-around scorer. And now LaMelo's passing has improved. I like his playmaking. I like his ball handling ability. But beyond that, he has a lot of major question marks. If he can't shoot, dude, he shot 25% in Australia. You know what I mean? I forget what he shot in Lithuania, but part of that, a little bit of that shot selection, but he doesn't have good form. He doesn't have good form. His shot, his form is different almost every time he shoots it. You know what I mean? His base, his, he doesn't have good form. I don't see him being a good NBA 3-point shooter. If he's not a guy who people really have to respect out there, he's quick, but he's not super quick.
Yeah.
Like, he has good ball handling ability, but it's like, if guys don't have to respect his jump shot, I think he might struggle to get into the lane. And if he struggles to get into the lane, break down defenses, and create, then what value does he have? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that is like the major risk with LaMelo. He's going to have to be able to shoot. He doesn't have the strength to, like, go at a guy who's sagging on him and use his body to carve out space and create and that type of stuff. He doesn't have that level of strength. Maybe he can get there, but just the shot is a huge question mark with me, and I think a lot of his NBA level production will hinge on whether or not he's able to shoot or not. Even if he's able to shoot, I still like, okay, so he can create shots for others and hit threes. Like, still not super athletic around the rim. Still have questions about him being able to finish. He has some defensive lapses. How good is he going to be on that end? Like, I still don't see him being like having like an Edwards or a Wiseman level upside like a lot of people think. So he has a lot of risk, and he doesn't have that level of upside. That's why he's not up there like with them. That's why I have him 7th.
Yeah, I agree. When I got the 7th pick, I was like, man, if LaMelo fell all the way to 7, would I take him? Like, that was a question I actually had. Like, I was like, I probably have to take him there just based on what he potentially could be. But yeah, and then Ben C. Darling reminded me that he also said that trade to move up to 10 before he moved up to 7. That you were targeting Nico Mannion at 10.
Yeah, I'm not like super big on Nico either.
When he said that right after the LaMelo Ball thing, and I'm like, dude, I know you're full of crap now.
That's funny.
Like, you wouldn't trade up into the top 10 to take those guys. Like,
yeah. So what's your like top? So you'd go like Wiseman or Edwards Wiseman, right?
Yeah, I'd have top and 3 just like you had. I'd probably have Abdia and a Kongwu 4, 5, and then 6 through the next group is like really tough. You got Ball. I probably put Hayes towards the back end of that. I would have Okoro that high. I think I'm missing somebody, but yeah, that's basically my top 8 too. And no, Peyton Pritchard is not in the top 10.
No. Not in the top 30, but he's a solid second. I mean, like, I think Peyton Pritchard is one of the safer second round picks. I haven't really like talked on him, but like, he's feisty, he plays hard. Like, I could see him being a good defender, like just a 3-and-D point guard who can create a little bit. Like, you look at the way TJ McConnell is stuck. Like, I think he could have like, not saying he's like exactly the same player, but I think he could like fill that niche.
I don't want to say this just because they're white, but like, he does remind me of Steve Blake a lot, where he'll just stick around the league and has like useful skills to running offense.
It's more than niche. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like, he's just scrappy. So I'm trying to think of like scrappy point guards, that can.
Well, that's why I mentioned Blake. Blake was scrappy. He liked that.
I mean, maybe like a poor man's Pat Beverly.
One thing Pritchard really did to help him go from probably an undrafted player to at least a second-round pick is he improved his range.
Yeah.
And he showed off his range this year a lot. And if he continues to improve his range, I mean, he can have a place in the league as a backup point guard, I think, for a long time.
Yep. So I'm just looking at, like, sleepers.
Yeah. So, yeah, I put Halliburton at the end of kind of that list I just put. And then I'm trying to think if we missed anyone, like, big. Yeah, and then, like, once that list we just talked about, I just have such a hard time differentiating some of these guys. It's more like situational or need. If you're a rebuilding team, I like taking a chance on guys like a Jaden McDaniels or a Poku, kind of with huge upsides, but have like huge bust potential too, versus taking a guy like, let's say, Patrick Williams, who we already talked about, or Isaiah Stewart, or those type of guys who I think are going to be solid NBA players, just not huge high ceilings.
Yep. I've barely watched Kira Lewis play So like I need to watch him play, but I don't know why I get vibes that he could maybe be a steal late first round. I don't know why. Again, I like those like point guards with size. I think Kira Lewis is 6'4". But I get vibes.
I'm gonna look up what he shot. I just happened to see both Auburn games against where was he? Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of liked him too. At the time, he wasn't really like I hadn't seen him on a lot of mocks. Shot 36.6 this year from 3, 80% free throw shooter. Not bad.
Isn't he an athletic point guard? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if I've read that or not.
He's in his part of the reason why he's not up there is because he's a sophomore, kind of like we were talking about with Halliburton.
But that the players get discounted way too much on like.
Oh, I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying why he's.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying based on guys get discounted too much. I mean, you look at like Malcolm Brogdon in his draft class. Like Malcolm Brogdon came out at like 23 years old and he fell to the second round because of that. But it was like the dude knows how to play and he can defend and he can score and he's efficient and he's smart. Like you look at like Chris Middleton types coming out of A&M, Jimmy Butler. Like I think a lot of the steals that you see in like a late first, early second are usually guys that have been around for a while. I mean, like back, 10 years ago, you pretty much those are only guys available. Now you have more of a mix with like one and done guys. You'll have like a Josh Green there, a Nico Mannion there. You'll have like God, I'm trying to think of like some other prospects. I'm blanking. You might have a Jaden McDaniels falling. You might have a Zeke Naji falling. I don't know if Toro. I don't know how long he's been around. I don't know if he's a one-year player. But you kind of have some guys around there. But I just remember a lot of time like you'll have steals that they fell in the draft just because of their age, and then they end up being steals. I think Draymond probably was one of those.
Turo's a sophomore.
Okay.
Man, NBA draft had him up at like 8 on their last
NBA draft
month.
Sucks. If you guys want a good draft site, my only advice is don't use NBAdraft.net. They're garbage. Yeah. They literally like it's like they do 2K simulating the draft and then plug those in, and then like 2 days before the draft, they actually have a human like put out what they think is going to happen because it just randomly fixes itself 2 days before the draft, and then their like mock is pretty solid. But until then, so just looking at second round prospects, I honestly am not a fan of Scylla. I know you took him, which like you have, it makes sense. You already had 3 picks, so it makes sense for your 4th guy to be like a stash guy. And I could see why people would like him like as the best international prospect, but I really do not like his game. I just think he's somebody that just doesn't have a good feel for the game, and that's something you can't teach. And he doesn't show enough flash of skill to really like make me think he has high upside. Like he's athletic, he's 6'9" power forward or whatever. I don't know what his wingspan is, but he's athletic. Shows
7'4".
Yeah, I mean, he's big, he's athletic, he shows some defensive potential for sure. Can move off the ball a little bit, but like his shot's like broke. And he doesn't like show any ball handling ability with the ball in his hands. He doesn't show like a good feel for the game at all. Like he kind of, I feel like people are going to compare him to Pascal Siakam because I think they're from the same country. They kind of have similar builds, but he's not even showing like Pascal Siakam at New Mexico State level of like flashes of skill, in my opinion.
But I got Mitchell Robinson vibes from him. That's what I liked about him.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, like maybe if he can play center, that's the thing. When I was like watching the tapes, like I didn't think of him as like a center. I was thinking of him as like a 4.
He stepped up and averaged like 3 blocks a game in 21 minutes. Like he's got great defensive instincts, a huge rim protector.
Who is he playing against though? At the same time, which is always I don't know, like because wasn't he playing like low
He was
level?
playing in the front. He was playing in the French league this last year, I think.
Yeah, I don't know how that is. Because the tape I watched seemed like he was playing pretty low level, so it's kind of hard to like project like his shot blocking.
I want to say he was in the same league as Killian was.
Yeah,
Was
but
he?
I mean, like shot blocking is something that like translates
I know,
completely different than other skills from something. He's going up against bigs that are 6'7", 6'8", and
I don't
can't get
know,
off the ground.
but his I looked for a quick second jump, and
Yeah,
he's got one of the quickest I've ever seen. Um, I like his. You say he doesn't have ball handling, but I watched must have been at least 50 times him grabbing a rebound and going coast to coast off the dribble. So he has to have some ball handling
but
ability.
like, yeah, he
There's
can
not a lot of
dribble in a
bigs that can do that.
straight line, but was there any creativity there? I like from what I've seen, like every time he has to be creative with the ball, or like kind of every time
I
he
mean,
like needs to make a move, he
but
struggles.
I know, but he's only been playing basketball for a few years, and like I just like the raw ability. Of course, he's not going to have a good feel for the game when he just picked it up at a late age,
Yeah,
and I just like being able to work with some skills that can't be taught versus skills. I think most of his skill set is teachable, that he's missing right now. So yeah, I just really like him.
Dizzy D says, "Can we get team by team analysis and draft grades from our mock draft? Maybe on Friday." But people were getting like kind of upset with us being like, giving truthful analysis, which like I don't know. I'm not even gonna get into that right now. But it was kind of like I don't want to offend anybody and say, "Oh, this pick is a D." Like, you know what I mean? Like, even though we told people not to take it personally, like I do see both sides. Like that whole argument, I'm not going to get into. All I'm going to say is I saw both sides of it. We don't need to talk about it. But I wasn't. I don't know. It almost like I almost feel bad saying, "Oh, this guy you picked, I give your pick a D." Like I almost feel bad doing that. So maybe on Friday. I don't know. If enough of you guys want it, then yeah, we can. But tonight I'm just kind of like looking at prospects and talking about guys I like. I do get good vibes from Elijah Hughes. I haven't watched him enough.
Man, it's so hard to project Syracuse guys. Like
Yeah,
most of them just bust out. Um, I mean, obviously Melo didn't,
most of the
but
ones
like,
that bust out are taken first round though.
yeah. But there isn't a lot of Syracuse guys that stick around for a long time, is there?
I'm not sure, but I mean, like you could have said the same about Duke like 5 years ago. To be honest, like they had so many busts, and then now you're getting like
Well,
Zion, Tatum. Like I don't know. I don't really base it off the school.
I mean, Duke had a lot of guys that like Grant Hill,
I know. I just mean like
Elton
the. I
Brand.
mean
Like
like. I
it's
mean
it's
like.
hard when you have 4 or 5 draft picks every year. Syracuse
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have that top end
I just know they
talent.
had like a really bad track record on their draft picks, which Syracuse does as well. But I'm not going to hold it against a guy like Hughes, like 6'6", can shoot the ball, can score from all three levels. I don't know. I need to watch more film on him, but like a lot of these guys, I get like good or bad vibes from. Like a lot of it is vibes because I haven't watched a lot of these guys enough. Killian Tilly, I'm a Gonzaga fan, so I've watched him a ton. I think that would actually be a good pick for Portland at 44 if he's there. Like, he has injury concerns. That's been... Like, if he didn't have injury concerns, he'd be a first-round pick, in my opinion. But his injury concerns have dropped him to possibly getting undrafted, but he's a big 6'10", who can shoot the ball, can shoot really well. He can pass the ball well. And his perimeter defense kind of questionable. So like at the 4, like I think he's quick enough to like stay at the 4, agile enough to stay at the 4. Like I don't know. Defensively it's kind of hard to figure out how he projects. And it's a guy I've watched for years.
Playing as yeah.
Cuz like I don't know, he has like decent defensive instincts, but he's not like a insane he's more of like an agile, like nimble type of big, you know what I mean? But he doesn't have like the greatest lateral quickness. So it's like, is he a rim protector? Is he a guy you play at the 4? And, is he big enough to be a rim protector? I don't know. He's kind of like a little bit of a tweener big.
Yeah.
Big to me on defense. Like offensively, I think he could be a really, really good big, especially if he's able to play the 5. If you're able to get that type of shooting and passing from the 5, like if he's able to stick at the 5 defensively, like, and you're able to get a guy that can shoot and pass like that, then I think he'd be a good NBA player. I just don't think defensively he's a 5, so I think you have to play him at the 4, and then those skills aren't quite as special, if that makes sense. But still overall, like I really, really like his skill.
Dizzy D is making funny about having an 8'8" shooting guard on the list.
Man,
you make one mistake.
I know. So what I did is I literally just copied the data from like Draft Express's top 100, and because they had like the height and weight and all that, but the height copied as like dates. So I had to sort the dates, and then like, you know, like June 0, like June 0 was a date, so that was like 6 foot. June like 2nd was like 6'2", so I just go through and like 6'2", 6'2", 6'2", whatever. June 8th I was going through 6'8", 6'8", 6'8". I accidentally hit 8 twice. So that's how you got an 8'8" shooting guard. I think that's Trevelyan Queen. They got that, but
I really liked Indiana taking Bolmero at the beginning of the second round.
I wanted him. I was trying to trade into the early second to take Bolmero because I wanted to take a stash guy. So I wanted to take 2 stash guys. I wanted Kalaitzakis and Bolmero. I'm still really high on Kalaitzakis, man.
Well, so when I traded for 20, I was deciding between him, Poku, and the guy I took was RJ Hampton. So
yeah, I don't. Poku's a guy I have watched film on. I don't know, man. I like you could like strain and see some Jokic in him, I guess, but like the dude's so skinny.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he's ever going to be strong enough to really like stick. You know what I mean? Like if Jokic wasn't as like big as and burly as he was, as he is, he wouldn't be the same level of player. You know what I mean? We're talking about Jokic being like, I don't think Poku has, you know, his level of passing ability at all, or like his level of even like shooting ability. I don't know. Like his shot's like pretty flat. How does that translate out to NBA 3?
The only thing I'll say is he is the youngest player in the draft, so that's why people.
I mean, like he's a lottery
fall in love
for sure.
with. Yeah. I think he's got a little more Porzingis in him than he does.
Yeah, I can see that.
Maybe.
I can see that. I don't know.
Obviously, he's not a high lottery pick, so he's not as good as those guys. So.
I don't know. Like I see the intrigue. I just don't think it'll translate at the same time with him. If that makes sense. Like, I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it much more than that. I watched like 10, 15 minutes of Grant Riller tape. Didn't really get a good vibe from him. Just seems like your typical summer league guard to me. Like one of those guards you take like that can score and comes in the league, and he's just not like special enough at anything to really stand out, and he's just like a guy who can like maybe get hot once in a while, but like isn't super efficient, doesn't do anything else well. So I don't know. He gives me like we always have one of those summer league point guards, one of those summer league guards. You know what I mean? Like the what's his name? Russ Smith type of point guards, the Demetrius Jackson type of point guards, like Isaiah Whitehead. You know, Isaiah Whitehead's like big, so he's a little different, but I just feel like he's one of those types of point guards.
Yeah.
Cassius Winston, I've seen, has been mocked in the first round in a couple mock drafts. I think that's a little bit of a surprise. Just seems like your typical college player that is like really smart and I don't know, a really good college player, but his game doesn't translate.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree.
Just looking at
Jack M had a dono.
Who did?
Jack M with the $2 donations. He says thoughts on Sadiq Bey. Thanks for the stream.
Appreciate the $2 donation. I'll let Eric talk on him because I haven't watched enough of Sadiq Bey. That's like one of the guys I have up next for me to like dive into. But Eric's watched him.
I really like Sadiq Bey in that area where we're going to be picking in the first round, most likely. When you watch him his shot looks like Wesley Matthews to me, and I kind of get a. It's going to be weird because he plays for Villanova, just like this guy, but I kind of feel like I did about him as I did Mikal Bridges, where he's never gonna be a star in the NBA, but he could be like a top end wing on like a good team, if that makes sense, like a glue type guy. So I like his shooting. He can post up a little bit like Wes does. He can take guys off the dribble a little bit. Doesn't have like super high end athleticism. That's why he probably won't be a top 10 pick like he was in our draft. But I really think he's about as solid as you can find after the group of top 8 guys we mentioned.
Yeah. So I usually really like these types of prospects, but I'm not as into them for Portland as I have been in the past for 2 reasons. One is Gary Trent Jr.'s development. I think Gary Trent Jr. can be that guy. Like, he's a little bit undersized of a 3, but he plays bigger than he is, and I think his standing reach measurement at the combine was flawed. Flawed because there's no way he has a 40-inch vert.
Yeah.
Which is like based off standing reach, and there's no way he has like, I think he had like a 6'6", 6.5 wingspan, and he's 6'5" or something without shoes, and his standing reach was like 8'1". I did a study on it, and it was like his standing reach compared to his height and his wingspan would be like bottom like half of like it would have been historically low standing reach given his height and his wingspan. So like I think like I don't know, because you look at 8'1" or 8'2" standing reach or whatever it was, and it's like, damn, that guy can't play small forward. But I think it's more like 8'5", 8'6", and he more has like a 35-inch vertical than 39, which is what was registered, because there's no way he has a 39-inch vert. And stuff like that's happened in the past. So I think he's a little bit bigger. I don't know. If you're just looking at that standing reach, I think it's flawed. I think he's a little like bigger than that standing reach was registered as. But like so anyway, back to my original point. I've soured on these like 3-and-D type of role player guys because like Gary Trent Jr.'s development, he's developing into that guy. His defense was very impressive, and also Nasir Little I think can be that guy as well. And he's a little bit more of a project, but he has a little bit more upside than those guys. So
yeah, see, I would say Bay is. You mentioned Little earlier in this show, but like he's more ready to play than Little. So yeah, I would kind of push his development back. But he's a solid like 6'8" small forward type.
Yeah. I don't think he'd be. I don't know. Like, yeah, he's a little bit bigger, but like, with Trent now, with the way Trent's developing, do we really need a guy like that, or should we take a lottery ticket type guy? I think we need to take a lottery ticket type guy. The problem is there's not any like really good lottery tickets in this draft, in my opinion, around that spot. So we either need to trade up or we need to trade the pick for a player that's already in the league. I just think at this point we need to take lottery. We need as many lottery tickets as we can get, because it might end up being something where the only way we're going to win a championship is if we find like a Pascal Siakam type guy in the next like 3 years. You know, like a guy who Toronto took at 27 was looked at as kind of like had a little bit of skill, but was more of like a hustle rebounder type of guy, finisher, and then just developed rapidly and ended up being an all-star. I think it might come down to the only way we're going to have a like legitimate chance of winning a championship is if we find a guy like that in the draft this year or next year, because 2021 is a really good draft.
Well, we do have one of those type of guys, not a big guy, but Simon still could have that.
Yeah, I've soured a little bit on Simons, man.
But the problem is the person I took at 20, I think, has that potential possibly, but he's a guard like David CJ. So like even if he was that guy, does it really help us that much to get another guard versus having it as a small forward or power forward type position? So yeah, we need to find a big wing that can defend and like can take over games and stuff. But yeah, that's hard to find. But it happens every year where someone's like that. But I'm just saying, in that range, I think RJ Hampton has a decent ceiling compared to some of those guys who would be glue type guys.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, Jaden McDaniels is a huge boomer bust. I guess that would be.
I think he'd take too long to develop. That's the thing. We need a lottery ticket that like has a chance in the next like 3-4 years. Jaden McDaniels, I think, is like a 6-year project. Like 6 years from now, Jaden McDaniels is going to be 25. I think that's when he's going to be like if he's ends up being really good. I think that's when he's going to be coming into his own, because a lot of it for him is strength, and then learning how to use that strength, and then I don't know. I think.
Well, that's the crazy thing about Siakam to me is he was a rookie at 22, but the way that draft went and like how
another
everyone
guy
thought
that
about
dropped because of age, and he was thought of as a reach at 27.
Yeah, but like because of his age, everyone was like, "Oh, you're taking this guy who's barely played basketball and doesn't really." I mean, he's 22. How much better is he going to get?
Mm-hmm.
And then so that's hard to find both a guy who has such a high ceiling but isn't good enough to get drafted high in the lottery. Yeah. And then on top of that, we'll realize his ceiling sooner rather than later. So, I mean, if we could figure that out, we'd be rich, right?
I mean, I think you got to not look at age, honestly. You know, not take that into account with upside as much as people do. I think that's been a mistake that a lot of people do is they base upside too much off of age and not enough off of like how hard does this guy work, what type of system was he in college that let him like, did it utilize him to his fullest ability, what type of flashes of skill does he show, does he have like the feel for the game, does he have the athleticism, does he have the length or the body to be able to like when you progress skill wise, you look at Siakam, how long he is, how like fluid he is as an athlete, like you add that skill to it, he's able to really get to where he wants to go effectively. Like there's a lot of like other factors that determine upside that are overlooked and people base it too much off of age, and that's something that like I'm trying to get myself to stop doing, because I also look at age a little bit too much, I think, until recently, because now it's just like you're looking at some of these players like a Siakam, like a Jimmy Butler, like a Chris Middleton coming out of college, like a Draymond, like you got a lot of players that ended up progressing like a lot from their first year as like a 22-year-old rookie to like being 26. So I think.
Well, I agree with you there for teams like Portland or teams that are kind of already somewhat established and are just looking for pieces to fit in. But if you're talking about rebuilding teams or teams that have just keep striking out and keep not making the playoffs, take a Sacramento Kings, for example, I wouldn't be safe with them. I would just swing for the fences, and if it doesn't work out, whereas if you take an 18-year-old and he's good and, he's only 22 and he's played 4 years in the league, I mean, you still have like a 10-year window, whereas some of those other guys have a little shorter window. But yeah, I can see, like Portland, I completely agree with you. Like age shouldn't factor in really. You should just take who's ever going to be best for their situation.
Yep. You should look at all prospects like they're the same age when trying to base their upside, in my opinion. Like sure, age has like a small role to play, but it's too overlooked. So I think with this draft, I think that's kind of what, I think that's something like when we're looking at possible second rounders to take, okay, who's a guy, maybe we can trade up to late first, or maybe we trade down from 14. Okay, who's a guy that might be overlooked because of his age that has more upside than people realize.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was funny in that draft, Siakam was taken 27th. He was projected like 40th to like 50th.
Late. Yeah.
So people were like, damn, Toronto's reaching. And then without him, they don't win a championship. So.
Yep.
Anyway.
Then we just got to trade for Kawhi too, right?
That's the thing. There's nobody available to really like trade that pick for. That's the problem this year. There's no like maybe a Kelly Oubre, but like I'm not that high. I'm not that high on Kelly Oubre. Like I don't know. Like there's just not many. There's not many players out there that I really, really want, trade wise, that are available.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at like a Kelly Oubre, like career 33% 3-point shooter. Last year he shot 35%, but the year before that was 32. Like, okay, is that really, he's like a Maurice Harkless type of shooter. He shoots like a lot of threes, but like he's not super efficient. So it's like, okay, we put a below average shooter at small forward, and like he's kind of an inconsistent defender. I wouldn't say he's a good defender, so it's like not a good shooter, not a good defender. Is that really the guy we want at small forward? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know. Like he has the potential to be he shot 35% from 3 last season, so he has the potential to be a decent shooter, and he has the potential to be a good defender, and he's still only 24, so it's like, okay, we could take a gamble on somebody like that, but who knows if he's even available. I don't know if he's available. Yeah. I think they should make him available and roll forward with Mikal Bridges, but there's some fit questions. That's the thing, and that's like the best small forward prospect I can think of in terms of like prospect being trade prospects or trade guys available on the trade market. I can't think of anyone better than that.
Yeah, it's going to be weird too. I was kind of wondering what you thought about this, but if the season just ends, I think you're going to have a lot less turnover than we've had in a lot of recent years, like last summer especially. Where, but, I guess the last 3 summers we've been talking about how tough the West has gotten. Each year it gets tougher. And then finally last year you had a guy like Durant leave the West to the Eastern Conference, which helped a little bit, but he was hurt, so it didn't really matter that much. But I think a lot of these guys, like I was going over the player options again and the team options with certain people, and it just seems to me like a lot of people are just going to run it back next year and just think, we'll just play again next year and see what we can do, and then have a full free agency in 2021 or whatever.
Here is what I would do, just like with the options out there. I would use the traded player exception to try and maybe take on $6-7 million in salary and see what I could get for that, right? Maybe you can get an asset that helps you trade up from 14 to like 11, and maybe a guy like Halliburton falls there. If Halliburton falls there, like honestly, I feel more comfortable with going forward with him as our third guard than Simons. Like Simons more of a lottery ticket. I think Halliburton would be a much better fit next to Dame or CJ, and maybe you still keep Simons, but that's an asset you're more comfortable like trading away for something good at the trade deadline next year. Whatever. Either way, we keep our pick. We use our traded player exception, try and take on $6-7 million in salary. We can take up to like 7.1 million or something like that. I forget exactly what it is, but something like that. Take on that salary for a team, maybe trying to set up for free agency or whatever. Try and get an asset. Maybe it's just a second round pick. I don't know. Try and get an asset back, and then you go into free agency. You re-sign Whiteside. I'm thinking like 10 million a year, second year team option. He'd have a no trade clause, but he might be willing to accept a trade if he's coming off the bench. You would start Nurkic, not Whiteside. So maybe he's tradable as an expiring contract, whatever. You would also maybe have that like guy we traded for with the trade exception, making $6-7 million is a possible. Hopefully that'd be an expiring contract. Maybe that's something we could use at the trade deadline. So basically that would kind of set, and then we'd have the extra asset that maybe we could trade at the deadline depending on what we got back for taking on that contract. So it'd be setting up for the trade deadline next season. But then you'd use part of the MLE on like a Harkless. I'd bring back Harkless if we could for like $5 million or something like that. Probably can't go into the tax, but I don't think they'd be I think they'd be like right up against the tax line. I'm not entirely sure.
Release my video.
Yeah. Nothing. Yeah, I still need to do the graphics on that. I keep forgetting. But anyway, so like then next year you're rolling with a bench of Whiteside, Hood, Harkless, You don't bring back Melo. You got Whiteside, Hood, Harkless, Trent. Trent is the third guard. CJ slides over to point guard with the bench. So that's a really good bench unit, I think. If Hood's able to like, kind of return to being Rodney Hood that we know, you got him off the bench, you got Whiteside off the bench, you got Harkless off the bench, you got Trent. Like defensively, that's a good bench unit. I really like that bench unit.
Trevin says this is some useful information because he's the Blazers.
Well, you've already traded for Devontae Graham and Robert Covington, so this doesn't apply to you. But you know, I think okay. Then you run into next season, seeing how that looks. You know, Collins next to Nurkic. You know, Ariza. Hopefully he'd be our starting three, and hopefully he can play like how he played for us this year. And you see how that team looks. But then you're hopefully set up for the trade deadline where like you can use Ariza's almost $13 million expiring contract, that $7 million expiring contract that you got an asset for that you use the trade exception to absorb. Maybe you can attach that to Ariza that gets you up to like almost $20 million in salary. You could, if Azonia opts in or whatever, you'd have like some minimum contracts there. Maybe Gabriel if we resign him. I don't know. You could get to like the area where you could match a contract for like an Otto Porter Jr. or something, while also not even having to trade Whiteside, because he'd have a no trade clause if you resign him to a 1-year deal, which I don't think they should resign him like for a long-term deal, because then he's not tradable at all, because nobody's going to want to take that on. So that's kind of my plan with what's available. It's like basically running it back, and that's never really been like my like top plan. It's always been to like go out and find somebody, but there's nothing available. So I think like realistically, I think that is kind of what their plan needs to be. I don't know what you think of that, but
yeah, I mean that's basically along the plan. I think I'd probably sign Whiteside for a 2-year deal just to make sure we have that ability to trade him without it. And I don't think a 2-year like $20 million to $24 million would be that hard to trade, even if he did become a problem. But yeah, overall I kind of like that scenario. Let me throw this at you. This will give Trevin some information for the game, but we're not tampering right now. So in real life, the Bucks call us and basically tell us we can have Ilyasova for free. What do? Do you take him, or is that not good enough as like a bench forward scorer?
We could go use. The thing is, if we got Ilyasova, there'd really be nothing to use our mid-level exception for. Like you got Hood coming back. I think he'd be ready by the start of next season, because I assume the start of next season will be delayed. Even if it starts in end of October, Hood still might be ready by then. He seems to be progressing well. I don't know. But like even if he's not like all that ready, you also got, Trent off the bench. Like you bring back Whiteside, you got Whiteside off the bench. So really the only thing we need off the bench is a backup four. If we got Ilyasova, we'd have Trent, Hood, Ilyasova, Whiteside. If one of them gets hurt, maybe you filter in Simons or Little or whatever. Like it's hard to really see us getting that much better, like a better option off the bench for the mid-level exception, than a better option than an Ilyasova or a Trent or a Hood. So at that point, like we get Ilyasova, there's no point to use the mid-level exception. But
we wouldn't be hard taxed, and so we could. Yeah, like if we're doing well, we could go. Oh, yeah.
But like I think we could get a Harkless for like under the full mid-level exception. Like I think we could use half of it and not even get hard cap, not even get into the tax or whatever. You know what I mean? I think we could get a similar player to Ilyasova for a similar amount of money using our mid-level exception instead of our trade exception. Then you'd still have the trade exception at the deadline. So that's why I'd say no to Ilyasova, because we could get a similar player for him for our mid-level exception. If we got Ilyasova, like, I don't know, using that mid-level exception on a 4 is really the only thing we really need to use it on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say to that is you just don't know who you're going to get with the mid-level exception, whereas if you trade for someone like Ilyasova, yeah, he might not be as good as free agent, but we haven't had the best of luck signing free agents either. So like maybe that would be better than any free agent. And if I don't know, I don't think that would be a bad move. Him and Whiteside would be a pretty good 4 or 5 combo, I think.
I think there's enough out there that that you could find somebody Ilyasova's level. And honestly, like Ariza can slide over to play small ball 4, so maybe like Ariza starts at the 3 but doesn't play many minutes there and plays the backup 4 behind Collins or whatever, and then I don't know, like that probably doesn't cover all the 4 minutes, but that can cover like almost all of them, and maybe use the mid-level exception on like a 3 or a 2 or I don't know, somewhere else. Like we have enough versatility that it doesn't actually necessarily have to be a 4. I don't know. I think we can, because we have little that we could filter in for spot minutes as well. I think. I don't know. It's just. I don't know. I'd want an asset back to take on that for free and use our trade exception and put us in a spot where like we don't even need to use our mid-level exception. So it's like we get a guy for free that's like okay, but it's like we use an asset to get him while making another asset like worthless to us, if that makes sense. Instead of using the mid-level exception and keeping the trade exception, because I think honestly go out and get Harkless back. And that's what I think we should do with that mid-level exception. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if that's something they'll look at or not.
I mean, I assume he'd be down to play here instead of for a bottom feeder lotto team, and he's cool with our guys. He like fits in with Nurk, sub him in early and, keep Nurk in, or I don't know. I try and stagger it where he gets some minutes next to Nurk, because I actually really like Harkless's fit next to Nurk just because of how well he cuts and with Nurkic's passing, and I really like Harkless's defense and his 3-point shooting the past 4 years. He's been shooting 35% the past 4 years. Like his 3-point shooting isn't as bad as Blazer fans act like. And yeah, I think he would be a good guy to go get. With the mid-level exception. I'd rather have him than Ilyasova. And I think we'd be able to get a guy like Harkless. Might not be Harkless. I think we could get a guy like Harkless. So, like, if they're offering us Ilyasova, I'm asking for a second back with it. And if they don't, then I say, okay, maybe wait till, like, free agency is over and we'll see what we get. If we don't get somebody with our mid-level exception, we'll take him for free. I don't know. What would you do?
I think it would be nice to have a scoring big off the bench. Like I said, I think him and Whiteside as a 4-5 off the bench would be. I can't really think of many 4-5s off the bench that would be a better combo than that. And then, yeah, it's probably, this all depends on how ready Hood is to go. I mean, if it takes him a full year to get back to being Hood again, then we definitely need that depth on the wings. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of like that idea as someone who fits right under that $7 million range.
Yeah, for me with Ilyasova, I would rather have a better defender.
Yeah,
I'd rather have a two-way guy.
Well, but you have
shoot.
My thinking is you have Collins, Whiteside, and Nurk already, so you don't necessarily need a good defender with your fourth big. Like you're just looking for a guy who can do something a little different than those other guys. That's why I wouldn't necessarily mind re-signing Melo if he was willing to take the minimum and be a bench player too, because it's just a different skill set versus
I get that, but with how bad our defense was with our bigs being injured, like it's nice to have that defensive insurance, number one. And true. Then I don't know, I don't think
I'm assuming health. I mean, if all three of our bigs get hurt again, we're screwed no matter whether we have a good fourth guy or not.
Like, we got a good front court defense, so it's not a good idea to, like, go get, like, a defensive, a Michael Kidd-Gilchrist or something like that, like a defensive-only guy for the reasons that you stated. But I think the best option would be to get a two-way guy, to get a Harkless type. Because I don't think you can have too much good defense next to, our backcourt with the way our backcourt defends. So if you could just surround, if you could possibly, I don't know, depending on how you look at Hood as a defender, other than Dame and CJ, like everybody else they could be playing with could be average defenders or better. If you got Trent, Hood, if we signed a guy like Harkless, Whiteside, Collins, Ariza, Nurkic, I like the idea of that. That forward just need to be able to shoot. Like, that would be the main skill, but I would prefer a two-way guy. So that's why I favor a guy like Harkless over Ilyasova. Ilyasova's also about to be 33.
I just want we still need, we can't go in the season with just Collins, Nurk, and Hood, or Collins, Nurk, and Whiteside with no other options except for small ball fours, in my opinion. I think we need like someone who's actual.
Well, how many
Actual.
games do you play? How many minutes a game do you play Collins next year? Like how
Well,
many?
I'm not saying they have to play. Like I'm not saying Ilyasova has to play more than like 18 to 20 minutes a game, but I'm just saying like with how this season went, I think we need. I'm fine with having the small ball lineup as an option, but that's also part of the problem with bringing back Whiteside is then you're stuck playing Collins exclusively at the 4 versus not getting any minutes at the 5, and then yeah, I don't know. It's just it kind of screws all the flexibility by doing that. But we almost have to do that. We backed ourselves into a corner where we have to bring back Whiteside, so it's just frustrating. Yeah.
I guess it's just the opportunity cost as somebody like Ilyasova, because then we don't go out and use the Emily. It's like weighing the opportunity cost with that. Using up that trade exception. It's kind of tough. It just depends on what we could get in free agency. I'm trying to think of like other like free agent forwards that would kind of fit the Harkless type mold.
What if we did that and then didn't sign Whiteside and then split the MLE with like a Harkless and another big that's like 4 million?
I wouldn't like that. Like one, if that happened, it would be stupid that we didn't trade Whiteside.
Yeah.
Two, that doesn't like make our team any better, because I don't think if we got an Ilyasova, if we signed Harkless, then one at full obviously depth matters, having insurance, but I like Little and like Simons is the insurance guys.
Yeah.
If you have Trent, Hood, Ilyasova, Harkless, and a backup 5 off the bench, like that, I think one of those guys would have to sit, and it's not going to be a backup 5, so it'd probably be Hood, Harkless, or Ilyasova. So then it's like, okay, we downgrade our backup center and we don't upgrade elsewhere because we, you know what I mean? Like we would be better re-signing Whiteside, and just not using the MLE at all at that point. And just roll like the best for me. It's just like, how can we get the best 9-man rotation?
Yeah.
Because I do think Little and Simons will be improved next year and be good enough to be like 10th, 11th guys. And maybe, whoever we draft at 14, maybe he's ready to play a little bit, like if we get a Sadiq Bey, that guy could be ready to go, ready to play.
The Stouts won't play him anyway.
No, yeah. But so.
Or he'll come in and shut down Siakam and then he won't play again the rest of the season.
What are some other forwards like that are available that are good, do you think? Like good fits. I'm going to look up free agency.
For the MLE?
Yeah, like a hybrid forward.
Or for the trade exception?
MLE, free agency this summer. I don't know. Jabari Parker would be a terrible fit. Let's see here. I wouldn't hate like a James Johnson, but he ain't opting out.
No.
The thing is, I think we need a hybrid backup four because we got 3 bigs. You know what I mean? Don't want like a 4th like power forward center type. So like a Bobby Portis. I don't, I don't want a power forward center. I want like a small forward power forward type of guy. Jake Crowder, maybe, but like I've soured on him. But he kind of fits that mold. I just don't think he's good enough at it. The only power forward center type that I would actually go after with the MLE is Christian Wood, but I think he'll get paid more than that. You got any ideas? Marvin Williams wouldn't be bad, but he's getting up there in age.
I think you could probably get Marvin Williams for like the tax MLE or less, and then you wouldn't get hard cap, so that's not a bad option. But yeah, probably in that 4 to 5 million range.
The one thing
I kind of think he fits. It's just like you said, he's a little older. But I think that goes back to what you were saying about age. We're getting to the point where we can't really. Dame and CJ are getting up to 30 now, so like we kind of have to get guys in that range. So
yeah, it's just like, well, next season he's probably not going to be the same as he was this season type of thing. The thing with Marvin Williams is like it seems like every other year he has a good year, and then every other year he has a bad year. And last year I think he had a good year, so next year I feel like he's gonna have a bad year. Boy, there's really not many good forwards available. Like
this free agent class is horrible. Yeah,
Wilson
that's the problem.
Chandler, ew. James Ennis, ew. Abdel Nader, I maybe would take over the other two. I'm not like because he can shoot. And Ennis, I think, kind of overachieved last year. I don't like his game. I feel like once we get to free agency, Blazer fans are going to be like, we should go out and sign James Ennis, and we're just going to be like, why? Like, that's going to be somebody that gets like a Blazers Edge article and like a Rip City Project article, and we're going to be sitting here like, well, why do we need James Ennis? Harry Giles is an unrestricted free agent. I forgot they didn't take his option. I mean, that would be a cool project guy, I guess.
What's up, Clays?
JaMychal Green, maybe. He struggled this year, though. I don't know. Yeah, there's not much. Like a Markieff Morris, maybe, but he's more of a power forward center. Yeah, there's not a whole lot.
Jack M says Wancho, but he's going to be a restricted free agent, so I doubt the MLE is going to get him out of there.
Like Marcus Morris, I think, is going to be too expensive. Yeah, I don't know. There's really not many guys available that really fit the bill at the forward. Because I'm looking at forwards. I'm not looking at just power forwards. I'm looking at forwards. So small forwards and power forwards right now. And honestly, like Jeremy Grant, I think is going to get priced out. That's the thing. Like a lot of the players around that level, I think are going to be too expensive. So like Harkless is really the best option. Other than that, I'm not sure any of these guys I'd take over in Ilyasova, to be honest. But I have a Harkless jersey. Make that jersey like worth something again. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. He'd fit. I like Harkless, man. I think Blazer fans were way too hard on him. I think he would be. I don't know. As long as he was consistently engaged, I think he'd be good off the bench. I think he'd be a good fit. I think he's. Yeah, I don't know. Give me Harkless. Thing is, maybe Ariza becomes a backup power forward full time. I don't know how you'd work that out. Maybe you go back to starting Hood if Hood like gets back to how he was last year, which isn't likely. But what do you think about that? And then maybe you like sign like a 2-3 type instead.
Like I said, I don't think any of that really works out when you're already having two guys that have to play center only. It's frustrating, but yeah.
Okay.
I think you have to go more traditional that way.
Yeah, you're right. So send off this stream with like you said you wanted to talk a little bit about free agency for mock off season.
Yeah, let's mark this. 98 minutes. All right. So I got a lot of people asking me about free agency, and just for the record, I put in big letters, do not read this free agency list. This is not complete. I just downloaded a master copy of free agents. I have not edited it at all. Mm-hmm. So please don't ask me individual questions about why certain guys are on there or not on there, or why your guy says restricted instead of unrestricted or whatever.
People are still going to, like people that are listening right now are still going to, because we've had so many things that we've explained that I know people are in the stream like watching us, and then they ask us questions about it, and then we'll answer it, and then they'll ask us the same question like 2 days later. Like just listen to my man Eric. Show him the respect of attention.
And we do not have a set time yet for free agency. It's going to all depend on how quickly we get all these spreadsheets edited and how quickly you guys get back to me with decisions. Zacho, all the undrafted rookie free agents will be on the free agent list when that becomes fully editable and Dizzy DS, why? Can you tell me why so-and-so is not on the list? That's funny. And
you'll be able to sign like seniors from this past year to like to like two-way contracts or whatever that might not necessarily be on the list. So like guys that like just graduated, or like now available to be in the NBA, like.
And just putting this out there, there's not going to be a lot of foreign guys who come over to be two-way players. So if you didn't draft a foreign guy, like he's not going to leave his team over in like Barcelona to come play for $65,000 on a two-way contract.
Yep.
He'll probably just wait to see if someone signs him to an actual contract or not. So just keep that kind of thing in mind.
So like, do you want to talk about stashing, possibly like stashing guys that you did pick?
Yeah. So Tori wrote on the list like certain players that were stashable. It's very rare, but there's occasionally like Utah a couple years ago with Williams Goss, like talked him into going and playing overseas for a year, and he agreed to it. And so they still owned his rights and then signed him a year later. We had that unique situation with Kiki this year where Chuma's hurt and he couldn't play for the Magic. So they draft him in the first round, but he hasn't even started his rookie contract yet. Those are really rare. So like, I guess there would maybe be an exception if you had a circumstance like that and wanted to talk to your draftee about that. But for the most part, unless you tell me otherwise when I talk to you, the first round picks are all on a salary scale. So I already have that all inputted and I'm ready to go as soon as you tell me you're signing that person. I think there's only maybe 1, 2 at most players in the first round that are even stashable. Maybe 3, but I doubt you're stashing Hayes, right?
No, see, like that's why like the top prospects are going to want to come over right away. That's why I said they weren't stashable. So they're just going to be signed to normal first round contracts.
So I think in the first round, maybe Poku would be the only one that maybe is questionable.
I had him like 0 to 2 years, like he could come over right away. But like, I think I might have had him 0 to 3 years because he's so young, and then Balmero I had him 0 to 2 years because Balmero was a little bit older.
Yeah.
So that was the logic behind that.
I'm just going to run through what I went through with Zacho. He was the Atlanta Hawks, so it was first in the alphabet. So, but I put this in the chat, but I really wanted to thank Zacho because he gave me like clear answers back, and it was very, very well done. So I was very proud of him for doing it the right way. So your team decisions. So first of all, I'm going to ask you individually if you want to sign your first round rookie to their standard contract. And so you tell me like, yes, this guy, if you had more than one pick in the first round, then we'll talk about all of your picks. If you had second round picks, the way second round picks work are kind of weird. So you can sign them to a minimum contract, but minimum contracts can only be for 2 years. So what happens is at the end of those 2 years, you have, for example, DeAnthony Melton of Memphis was on a 2-year minimum contract. So this year he's a restricted free agent, but Memphis only has early bird rights on him. So there's some that means that other teams can only offer him the mid-level exception the first 2 years of the contract. But other teams can sign him to, like, this happened with, I'm blanking on his name. The guy who was on Miami and he got signed that huge offer sheet with Brooklyn, but they matched it and then he got traded to Phoenix and they waived him this year. He's making like 19, 20 million. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Tyler Johnson?
What's that?
Tyler Johnson?
Howard Johnson?
Tyler Johnson?
Tyler Johnson, yeah, that's I thought you said Howard for some. No. Yeah, Tyler Johnson. So what teams can do is like max out or sign him to huge second or third year deals, or third and fourth year deals. This happened with Houston and Jeremy Lin and Omar Sheik one year, where they signed both of them. They were making like $5 million the first year, and then it went up to like $15 million. But for the team that signs them, it only counts as the average of the salary each year, or you can do it to where if you match that, the team, because you have to give the team a chance, so it has to be a contract they can match. So you can't offer DeAnthony Melton But anyway, so
I feel like that's like really complicated to try and like introduce with, if that makes sense.
But so here's my thing though. If you don't want to get stuck in that kind of situation with the second round pick, you can sign him to a 3-year deal, but you have to use cap space or part of your mid-level exception. So the Blazers did that with Trent last year. So they signed him to a 3-year deal. It was basically for the minimum, but they used cap space or the MLE to do it. And then they had him guaranteed for 3 years. And then at the end of those 3 years, he's got full bird rights and you can match any offer for him. But if mostly second picks, if you don't have cap space and don't want to use your mid-level exception, your only option is to sign him for 2 years, and then they become early bird free agents at the end of those 2 years. But that's basically your two options with second round picks, or you can leave them overseas. Like
you can also sign can't you also sign them to 2-way?
Oh yeah, or you can do a 2-way too. Yeah.
So like early second round picks aren't going to want to sign 2-ways. I think all second round picks can sign 2-way contracts, but
I think
or it might be past 45.
No, I think it's all second round, but I think last year there was a couple people that were pretty high that did, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% sure on that.
But here's what I'm thinking, maybe to make it easier for people. Maybe so like their second round picks, they'll have. Can you sign a second round pick to a 4-year contract?
No, it's 2 or 3.
Okay, so giving each second round pick like options for contracts that the team can sign them to. So like a late second round pick, they'd be willing to sign like a 2-way, a 2-year contract, or a 3-year contract.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, put the caveat, and like the salary would be like you'd set it as like, because that's the thing. Second round prospects, I saw Zacho say, I'll sign Paul Reed to a 3-year, $20 million deal. You don't need to do that because second round prospects, if they sign a 3-year deal, it's always like a little bit over the minimum for first year, then like $1.5 million, whatever.
Yeah, you could sign him to like a 3-year, $4.5 million or something, and he would accept that, and then you're guaranteed to have him early bird rights. So
just for the second round pick,
Zacho's in a situation where he's got cap space, so he doesn't really have to worry about it. But I'll do that. So
just like, how do you want to sign this player? Like
every second round pick, I'll give you 3 options: the 2-year option, the 3-year option, or the 2-way option. Or you can choose to not sign him at all if you don't have the roster spot. Like a couple people might be in trouble not having roster spots.
And then stash would be a 4th option for stashable players. So I think some like the really high second round picks, maybe you don't give them a 2-way option because they aren't willing to sign like a 2-way contract because it got drafted so high. You know what I mean?
I'll look up the exact rule, but I think
it by like a case by case basis or whatever.
Clay's brought up Bull as like the 41st pick, I think, last year, who was on a 2-way this year with Denver.
Because he was hurt. They like had to like rehab. I don't know. Bull's always hurt, so I think that was kind of a special case. So maybe like the 2-way possibilities maybe be a case by case.
Yep. So first round picks are for sure. You either sign them or you don't. I'm assuming everyone's going to sign them unless, like we talked about a couple examples, and then we'll go over with each individual team again what your options are for second round picks, and then. If you have a guy who has a red box in their 2021 column, that means they are a free agent coming off their rookie salary, and you can offer them a qualifying offer. And a qualifying offer is not a contract, and it's also not what their cap hold is, but it's basically an offer you have to offer it to get them to be a restricted free agent, which means you can match salaries from any other team. Mm-hmm. If you don't offer them, they become an unrestricted free agent, and any team can sign them, and you probably will not have them back on your team. Yeah. So if you have a rookie, like he had 3 kind of questionable ones on the Hawks. He had Bembry, Labissiere, and Damian Jones. He chose to extend qualifying offers to all 3. The thing about the qualifying offers, you can remove your qualifying offer at any point as long as he doesn't. I'm assuming we're not going to really be like, oh, DeAndre Bembry would sign his qualifying offer right away in this game. So use that to your advantage, where you can extend a qualifying offer and wait till teams match contracts. Maybe you sign another free agent with your cap space and don't really want to sign Bembry anymore. Then you can remove your qualifying offer at some point.
Yeah. I might have to make a video on that to try and like edit it like and
Yeah.
try and like probably like write out exactly what I'm going to say to try and like make it as clear as possible because it's definitely a hard thing to explain.
Yeah.
Not saying I could explain it any better than you're doing right now. Just if we did it in a video, it might be a little easier to understand.
Basically, it's an offer for a 1-year contract, which most players don't choose unless they really want out of there. You had like Rodney Hood, for example, signed it, but then he has a situation where if he gets traded, he's got a no trade clause and he can veto trades, and then he doesn't have bird rights on his new team, so he has to sign for less, and it gets kind of messy. So a lot of people don't sign the qualifying offers. It's actually pretty rare. But yeah, so basically just think of it as this. If you want to keep that player, you want to extend him a qualifying offer. Yeah. If you don't care about him and you want him off your team, then don't extend a qualifying offer. He becomes a free agent. It's that simple. But yeah, it's more complicated than that, but that's basically how you should look at it.
Yeah, and it's going to be a work in progress with people like learning exactly how this free agency system will work. I mean, we still haven't like fully nailed it down. Yeah. But as far as like offering like max contracts in like, or not even necessarily max contracts, but in terms of like structuring salary over multiple years, do you want to like give them like different options for like it could decrease by 5% from the first year, it could stay flat, or it could increase 5% from the first year, or if you have bird rights, it can increase 7.5 or 8% from the first year. Do you want to do it like that, or do you want to let them like choose?
Yeah, so what I was thinking is we can say like, here are the type of contracts you can offer, here's how you should format your offers when you message free agents, etc. And then say like, so you can do a normal contract with standard, 7.5, 4.5, whatever percent raises there are. You can do a declining contract like you mentioned. You can just do like a 4-year, $24 million, and it's $6 million a year, and that's the simplest way to do it. But yeah, I'm going to kind of leave that up to people. You can't just give someone like $2 million 1 year and $10 million the next year. So if it's 2 years, $12 million, it's got to either be one of those ones we talked about. Either it raises slightly or lowers slightly, but not more than like usually between 4.5 and 8.5.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have seen me mess around with the 2K streams, mess around with like the flat 0% or the back 5% or whatever. Like that's basically how it's done, and that'll make it easier for me to like do this through 2K as well, since I'm keeping track of everything so I can do the sim.
The max contracts are easy because it's set what they are based on the cap, so that's easy to do.
So if you if they want to extend a max, they just say max for whatever amount of years, like player option if it's there.
Yep. And there's certain contracts, like we talked about, if you sign a second round to a minimum contract, it has to be a 2-year. I'm sorry, it doesn't have to be a 2-year, but the max is a 2-year. So like, you can't sign someone to a minimum contract for 4 years, nor would most players want to sign a minimum contract for 4 years. But so there are restrictions. We'll get all more specific. That's why I'm trying to be like detailed with each person, like how much cap they're going to have and all that once we're done with this. And that's why it's going to take a little bit of time to do. But I'll also let you know what free agents you have, what their holds are if you do want to retain their bird rights, or if you have bird rights on certain guys. And bird rights means like you can go over the cap as much as possible to sign that player. So for example, we got Ben C. Darling in chat who has Davis Bertans, who is an unrestricted free agent, but he has full bird rights. So basically, if Washington wanted to keep him, he could offer him anywhere from a minimum contract to a maximum contract, and it wouldn't count anything towards like the mid-level exception, and it wouldn't matter how much salary cap you use, other than obviously you don't want to like max out everyone and have way too much money on your salary. Especially if you're going to be a bad team like Washington. No, just kidding, Ben.
So
I will go over with each person who their free agents are. Obviously, if they're restricted or not, if what bird rights you have on each one, whether you want to keep their bird rights or if you're planning on letting them go. Like, let me just see what. So Zacho has Jeff Teague, for example, who made like $19 million this year, and his cap holds like 30 million or something like that. So he just wanted to renounce the rights because he's not planning on re-signing him. So
And the
he
thing
just
is, since he has cap space, he could renounce that 30 million cap hold, and then if he decides to, he
Still
could
hold.
still end
Yeah.
up re-signing Jeff Teague just with cap space. Jeff Teague's just like a normal free agent at that point.
So going back to like Ben's situation, I want to say I looked up the other day, and Bertans has like a 13 million cap hold. So that's how much he'll count against your cap until you actually sign him. And then, but it's kind of like the restricted free agent qualifying offer. You can renounce him at any time. So like you don't necessarily have to renounce Jeff Teague right now. You could have kept him on and then been like, oh, I want to sign someone else. I need that 30 million off my books, and then just renounce him and he's gone. So yeah, you don't have to do it, but obviously if you have absolutely no plans on keeping Teague, it's easier to just delete him from your books now and not have to worry about that when you're trying to calculate how much cap space you have and all that stuff. So I'll go through all that. The two-way players you have on your team right now, if they're still eligible to be two-way players, I'm asking if they want an option to have them as a two-way player for another year, or if they want to extend them a qualifying offer as well, making them restricted free agents and giving them the ability to match offers on them. And then
He's walking you guys through this. So once it's your turn, like it'll be very easy for you guys to understand. Because I think you're doing a good job with that.
I'm trying to be as detailed as possible with my messages and questions, just so people understand exactly what they're answering.
It's hard. It's hard to find that balance between like being detailed but also being like clear. Because the thing is, it can get complicated if you try and be too detailed. So definitely.
And then the other thing is too. So the rookie contracts. So they're guaranteed for 2 years, but they're 4-year contracts. So right now you have to pick up or decline the option for 21-22 on all your rookie contracts. So like Zacho isn't going to decline the option on Trae Young and Mo Bamba and DeAndre Hunter and Matisse Thybulle. So he picked up all his options. But there might be a guy, I don't know, I can't think of like a complete bust that you'd want to do. But Sacramento did that with both Giles and Swanigan last year, where they did not pick up their 4th-year options. So they're actually free agents this summer instead of having 1 more year left on their rookie deal. And when you do that, you lose all bird rights to those players, and they become unrestricted free agent at the end of their rookie deal, which is very bad for you if you have a player and you pick in the first round and 3 years later you're dumping him for nothing. That shows that that player was not a good pick. But yeah, so you just have to decide if you want to pick up those options. And then other teams, I don't think – he had one – so you have some non-guaranteed players. There's some partial non-guarantees on some teams where, like, if you waive a guy, he counts $1 million towards your salary cap, but he counts like $5 million if you keep him. So you have some decisions to make, and like I said, I'll spell that out for you individually. And then there's some team options you have to pick up. And then I'm letting everyone know that with player options, that I'll let them know what their final decision is in the next couple of days as well.
There's like more different types of situations, but I feel than like, just going out and trying to trade guys, but like I feel like it's more straightforward than like, okay, how do we match? Like, what are trade exceptions? Like, does this match 3 teams or whatever? I feel like free agency is like, it's more straightforward. So it might seem confusing. I think you guys will pick it up better than like, okay, does this salary match this salary? You know what I mean? It's like, it's more of like, okay, this is what happens if you keep a guy. This is what happens if you don't. If you keep his cap hold, if you don't. If you extend him a qualifying offer, or you don't. If you pick up his team option, or you don't. Like, it's like a lot of like either or decisions that are pretty straightforward, I think. And Eric's laying it out. It sounds like he's laying it out pretty clear, pretty good. And I'm sure they can ask you for advice on decisions, right? Like,
and I'm going to try to be as patient with people as possible during free agency. So, like, if you offer someone a contract that's not possible or is weirdly worded or something, I'm just going to go back to you and say, like, hey, you message this free agent, like that contract doesn't really fit with the CBA. Can you maybe offer him this instead and see what happens? So yeah, I'll try to be understanding that it's not going to click for everyone. But yeah.
So how are we fielding offers? Who's fielding offers? How exactly do you think that's going to work?
This is my idea. I am not going to be very
active in free agency.
I don't really care that much about it.
I got a couple guys I might go after, but I'm a rebuilding team too. So
for the most part, what I was thinking is setting up an email address and having people just email like with the subject being whatever player they're after, and be like, I'm the Hornets. I want to offer Torrey Jones a max contract or a 3-year, $6 million contract, whatever. And then maybe you could even give a blurb like, I would see him as my starting small forward, or like we have a great starting five, but we need that punch off the bench, or just some sort of sales pitch for that player, especially if it's a big one.
Don't even necessarily have to give it, but it might help your chances if you do.
Right.
I'd say. Yeah.
And then so the forum, I've already contacted a few guys who said they would be willing to help, and I'm not going to tell them at all who's anyone team is. They don't know most of you guys, so I'm not going to tell them, especially who your team and my team is.
Yeah.
And then so like all the stuff will just have like the team name, not necessarily like our names on it. So so then I'll just go like, okay, so these are the offers for Anthony Davis. Like, do you think it's 100% he'll go back to LA, or do you think like he has a chance of signing with the Wizards or whatever, or the Atlanta Hawks or something? And then, so if they say like, I give it a 99% chance, then like if you and I kind of agree with that too, then we'll roll for it. And most likely he'll go back to LA or whatever. And then some teams, it'll be like, maybe there's 3 teams that are all pretty evenly matched, and we give them all 33% and do the random number generator. So I don't know what you think about that, but that's kind of what I was thinking.
Honestly, like for players that neither of us are going after, do we need like somebody else to do that, or could we do that since neither of us are going after that player?
I was thinking that yes, we could do that.
I think that'd probably be easiest.
What I don't want to have happen is like, oh man, I can't stand Ben Darling. I don't want Bertans to re-sign with there. You know?
But like I wouldn't. Yeah, you know, I wouldn't make any of it personal. But like some of the rosters that are like new, you know, like might affect players' decisions. And me and Eric know like the new rosters in this mock off season. So,
like I said, I was planning on controlling it and being like, basically just laying, you can help me with this too, obviously, both of us, but like just being like, okay, here's I don't know, who's a big free agent that's probably going to leave his team. I don't know, like
DeRozan maybe, if he doesn't accept his player option.
Okay, let's say DeRozan opts out, and then that's the other thing, I was going to have that panel just take a quick straw poll of the last few guys that are player options, and then so if it's like 2-1 for DeRozan staying, or 2-1 or 3-0, whatever.
Smart.
And then so I was planning on saying like, okay, Carmelo Anthony got these 4 offers. This is what the teams look like. This is their sales pitch. Like, do you guys think he'd sign with any of these teams or whatever? But like you said, I mean, if neither of us are signing Carmelo Anthony, obviously, so we could also kind of just control that. I just don't want anyone thinking we're playing favorites or doing anything.
If like one of us is giving out an offer, then maybe, then do you want like the other person to consult with that board? Because I don't know that whatever group of people you're talking about, I don't know exactly who it is. I don't know. I'd have to like obviously get into contact with that. But like, if one of us submits an offer and the other one doesn't, do you want to have like the other person just handle it by themselves and then like only use the board for like if both of us are going after a guy, or I don't know.
I don't know. I kind of like if either of us are in on a free agent and there's a lot of other offers. Like obviously, if you offer someone that no one else. Like, let's say I offered, I can't think of like a random guy that no one else offered.
Drafted free agent or something.
Yeah, no one else offers him. He's obviously, we're just going to, like, if if Zacho's the only one to offer a certain undrafted free agent a two-way contract, he's probably going to sign that two-way contract, right? So it's a lot of it we won't even need to discuss stuff with. But Russell Westbrook says Tim Frazier. Yeah, if Torrey's the only person who offers Tim Frazier a minimum contract, I'm not going to have to discuss it with the panel, like whether he would sign with the Spurs. He probably would,
We're just trying to get Dame to San Antonio by signing Tim Frazier. Stay tuned for a CJ trade.
Next thing you sign like Mason Plumlee, like you just go after all his old friends.
Ed Davis,
Ed Davis, yeah. Davis.
But yeah, I think that'd be the best way, not have to go to the panel for too much.
Oh yeah, I was only planning on doing it for.
And honestly, there's a decent chance that neither of us that there's a decent chance that there's no scenario where both of our teams are going after the same player.
Yeah, real quick, JDC man, what's up? What do you think of Georgios? He mentioned Georgios in the chat. I wanted to see what he thought if he scouted him as well.
You misspelled his name, bro.
Torrey loves him.
I think he's a borderline first rounder. And I always give the people on the forum crap for like falling in love with foreign prospects like that. So I'm not like that. That's how you spell it. Kalizakis. I think I misspelled it too. I definitely misspelled it.
You're just getting in that Spurs mindset, right?
I mean, that was part of it, but I do actually really like this game.
Yeah.
Zacho likes him too. Zacho actually guessed him. I gave him I was like he's between 6'5" and 6'7". He's like, oh, Georgios is nice. I'm like, how the hell did you guess it? But I mean, Porzingis wasn't putting up great stats in Europe before he came over. You know what I mean? You can't just look at the stats, I think, bro. Talking about, what was Giannis's stats? You know what I mean? But they didn't pop off the charts, I want you to watch him, and then there's he's 6'7", 6'11" wingspan, so theoretically could play the three, but he can handle the ball, he can make plays. He's not I wouldn't say he's a good athlete, but I do think he has a little bit of burst, he's a sneaky athlete in my opinion. Eric kind of disagrees with me. I don't think he's slow at all. Good open court player, I think, decent shooter. That's kind of my take on him, but just 6'7" with a 6'11" wingspan with some ball handling ability and can pass the ball and take guys off the dribble just a little bit and knock down shots. I don't know, that's intriguing to me for a second rounder, especially in this year's draft where you don't really have any lottery tickets. In the second round, in my opinion, is just a lot of meh.
It'd be nice to find those guys if they pan out.
He reminds me a little bit of a smaller, poor man's Giannis when Giannis was coming out of the draft, just a little bit.
God.
Smaller 6'7", ball handling ability, a lot of raw potential. I said smaller and poor man's, so don't say I'm not. Don't say I'm not putting the disclaimer on it.
He doesn't. I don't know.
Hey, when he blows up in the next 5 years, I'm gonna say told you so.
It's fine. I mean, if you want to talk about a Giannis type that didn't put up great stats but I didn't see that part of his game. It looked nothing like Giannis to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, well, I just mean Giannis was a guy who's he struggles to shoot, but he can handle the ball a little bit and he can pass a little bit, and he has good size for a player that can do that. Obviously Giannis is a lot better prospect than this guy is. That's why he was taken 15th overall, where this guy might not even get drafted. That's why I said poor man's smaller Giannis. I don't know. Chandler Hutchison. This guy is not like Chandler Hutchison, bro. But Chandler Hutchison actually had a decent year last year when he played. I think that man just needs a chance. I think that man just needs a chance, bro.
Hey,
literally only in his second year.
Jake, Torrey's the Spurs, and he traded for him.
As a throw-in to Larry Markin, I got Larry Markin, and I got Hutchison as a throw-in. Hutchison's shot form last year was looking better, but still shot 32%. But Uh, 50% inside the arc, decent defense. I mean, like, true shooting percentage 52%. Hopefully he can build on that next year. I mean, playing for the Bulls is not the situation I wanted him in, because that organization is dysfunctional as hell. So I think part of it might be he needs to get in a better fit than Chicago, and just get consistent opportunity, because this guy works his ass off. So I think you give him consistent opportunity, let him learn on the fly, put him in a better organization than Chicago, combine that with his work ethic and the pack, like the skill set he has. I still think he could be a solid NBA player.
Yeah,
I'm not going back on that, man. Try to give me crap for that. I still believe in him. He might be a back end rotation eventually. See, he's hating. Meanwhile, he's like hyping up Grant frickin' Williams. Oh man. Go back and find Jake Carey's misses. I need to go do that so I can give him crap.
I wonder what Jake would have done in this game. Remember last year he was Boston.
He traded Jason
like,
Tatum for Wendell Carter Jr.
and
so he can't even talk.
He traded you Jaylen Brown for not much too,
for
right?
Kevin Huerter and like a mid first round pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just because Jake's coming in here giving me crap about Chandler Hutchison, man. I actually invited Jake to participate in this too.
Yeah.
Because Jake like does his research on prospects. Yeah. Anyway, I believe in my guy Kalazakis. Okay, I mean Siakam, when he came out of the draft, he couldn't shoot either, and then look what happened, man. I mean, now the man can shoot. You know, sometimes guys can't shoot, and then they can shoot. You know, that's why you work on your shooting. You know, you improve at it when you work on it, right? So, I'm just saying. Oh man. Right, Eric, you gotta get in that gym once it opens back up, and I need you to space the floor for me in Rip City 3-on-3 this summer. Like,
I will. If you want me to be Myers, I'll be Myers.
Yes, I want you to be Myers.
All right, I'll be Myers.
And then, like, every 10 possessions, I'll let you be Chris Kaman, which you're much better at than being Myers. But, you know,
hey, you've never really seen me be Myers.
You're supposed to play off me, right? Actually, you know what? It'd be dope. It'd be dope if we like beat guys just shooting threes next year, because we beat guys just like being big as hell and like bullying them. It'd be cool to like, which there might not even be Rip City 3-on-3 this year, but it'd be cool to like beat them with like perimeter shooting. Like, yeah, we're big, but it's not like we're just winning because we're big. We can outshoot you too.
Well, the problem is we don't really have. It'd be better if we had another good shooter.
Yeah,
I mean,
Damani, he's not a shooter.
He can shoot. He just lacks confidence in his shot. So,
well, I mean
and he always hesitates to shoot too. But yeah, if we had like a knockdown 3-point shooter, that would take some pressure off of us too. But yeah.
Man, this man trading Jason Tatum for Wendell Carter Jr. trying to talk trash. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown for Wendell Carter Jr. and Kevin Huerter. Oh, man. Who did he take in that draft last year? I forget. Oh, yeah. Didn't he take good old Grant Williams? Everybody bet. Didn't Grant Williams start his career like 0 for 25 from 3? I was telling him Grant Williams can't shoot. He starts his career 0 for 25 from 3 or something like that. Let me look at his game logs, because this man tried to bring the heat. I'm gonna give it right back. Look at. Let me put it up on. I got to, man. Wait, display capture. Okay, I'm gonna put it over your face.
Oh yeah, we can't really be too mad at him. He got Hero at 38 because no one else wanted to take it.
But look at this man's 3-point 0 for 3, 0 for 1, 0 for 2, 0 for 2, 0 for 1, 0 for 1, 0 for 2, 0 for 1, 0 for 1, 0 for 2, 0 for 1, 0 for 2. Like, bro, I could do better than this start. I know he picked it back up 0 for 3. Like, this dude started like freaking 0 for like 30 from 3. That's impressive. I could do that. I could start 0 for 30 from 3. I mean, come on. And then he shot better. He finally learned how to actually make a 3-pointer. But I mean, 6'6" power forward that can't shoot. Just because he bringing that heat, I'm gonna give it back, man. I'm feisty up in here.
Hey, Jake, in our game, Grant Williams got traded to Golden State. It's a good fit for him. And it was for Jordan Poole. Sorry, Destro, if you're watching this back. But then Destro traded him.
That's his. Look, this guy sucks from 3, sucks from 2. He can't rebound. He doesn't defend. All his stats suck. And then the defense is, yeah, well, he helps you win. Like, you can't even argue that, but like, no, he doesn't. Like, I don't even know how to argue that. Like, Jordan Poole, Anthony Edwards. Helps you win. He got lucky to be on a winning team because I guarantee you if he was like on the Atlanta Hawks, he would be helping them win any more games than they won this year.
God, I was just saying how much I love Zacho, and now he's got to say something like that.
Oh, man. Well, call it Zaki's, like, he helps you just win everything he ever plays in, so he should be the first overall pick with Jake logic, honestly. Don't trash my team. Bro, your team got worse, which is fine, because I wouldn't pay John Collins a max either, but you know who really, like, speaking of Boston Celtics, you know who really helps them win? Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
That's true.
Can't even talk to me about Boston Celtics helping you win because you trade those guys for Wendell Carter Jr. I don't see Chicago winning shit. And then Kevin Hurt, I don't see Atlanta winning shit either. Oh, man. Jake, try to come at me, man. It'd be fun. I feel like it'd be really entertaining to have him, like, on air, like, in a debate. Like, I feel like that would be amazing content, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Because I know he can hold his own, but also I could troll him a little bit in person. Be prime content.
Man, I went back in the forum because someone bumped that thread about if you take Dame at 6 or who you would take. There are some horrible takes in that thread.
What I would have said back then is you don't take anybody but Dame. Like, I was so high on Dame, I nailed that. But yeah, I love reading back through that 2012 draft thread to see what people were saying. Some people were like pissed that we took him. Like, it's just interesting.
There, Rasta Palooza or whatever his name is, and Fez. They were both like, taking Dame would be the worst mistake ever. He can't even play well at Weber State. How is he going to play in the NBA?
It's not hindsight, Jake. It's just realizing his long-term potential. That's all it was, is knowing what he could be. And then he became that. It's not hindsight.
You can't blame him for having Kyrie on his team either.
True. But he let Kyrie walk, you know. He just should have.
No. I'm saying.
Yeah.
Tatum's stats are bad because of Kyrie.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The year Kyrie got hurt, and then his rookie year, and then this year without Kyrie is great. Mm-hmm. That's why I can't.
That's a great point. That's a great point. That's not hindsight either. We've been talking about how Kyrie made Boston worse in the process of Kyrie like missing games and then playing better. But no, I always loved Jason Tatum. I remember that draft. I was like, he is definitely number 1 overall pick. That's another one I nailed because Jake's trying to take shots at me and my scouting ability, man. I got to defend myself. But I think you were really high. Me and you agreed on Jason Tatum, Eric.
Yeah, I would have taken Tatum first. Without, I wouldn't even have hesitated 1 second.
Imagine if Philly took him first. Like, literally the perfect guy next to Simmons or Embiid. Or both. Like, Philly might have won a championship if they took Tatum instead of Fultz. With like the guys they have, like, and they only got a late first for Fultz. Like, I think they might have won a championship the year that Toronto won, because they took Toronto to Game 7 to the final buzzer. You get Jason Tatum in there. That completely changed it. Like, put him up against Kawhi. Because, like, Philly didn't have, like... I mean, I guess they had Jimmy Butler. But other than that...
Because if you have Tatum and Simmons and Embiid, that's... You could have guys like Redick, which they did have.
Yeah.
And you're totally fine shooters. Like, yeah.
That extra defender, man. That extra defender. I mean, like, dude, imagine Simmons, Butler, Tatum, Tobias, and Embiid. Like, that's insane. That's an insane lineup. And then, because were they starting Redick? Was that their fifth guy that they were starting in that lineup? Because you had Butler, you had Harris, you had Embiid, you had Simmons.
I want to say for a while they were bringing Redick off the bench, but then in the playoffs, I think he started. I don't remember. Winnie Peoples mix.
Yeah, I don't. I don't remember who else they would have started, to be honest, because their bench like wasn't the best. Definitely weren't starting TJ McConnell. I don't remember, but yeah, no, that draft was the most fun I've had scouting a draft or like leading up to a draft, just because that draft was loaded. I liked Anunoby. I was right on that. I was wrong on John Collins, I guess. I didn't think John Collins would be anything special. I was wrong on Kuzma. I was right on... I thought Donovan Mitchell was like a top 6-7 prospect. He got taken 13th. I was wrong on Kennard because I thought Kennard would completely flame out. Just try to remember some of my opinions on that. Did you nail any sleepers from that draft? Because there were a lot of second-round sleepers in that draft, too.
I don't know if there was a ton. I'm going to bring it up. I like Josh Hart, but he was into the first round.
I've never liked Villanova. Like, I didn't like... The only Villanova guy I've ever liked is Bridges. I didn't like DiVincenzo when he came out. I didn't like Hart. I didn't like Brunson.
Well, I like Hart, like early second round type player.
Oh, yeah.
Not like higher than where he was.
I don't remember why I wasn't high on Hart at all.
So you got Frank Jackson, Devon Reed, Awindu, Mason, Ivan Rabb.
Players at the start of that second round.
Jonah Bullet. I was high on Ojale.
I was high on Ojale. I was high on Bolden. Me and you were high on Bolden. I still think Bolden, he kind of got, like, he looked okay when he was playing in Philadelphia. Then he didn't get minutes last season, got traded or ended up in Phoenix. I forget exactly how he ended up in Phoenix, but
he got cut and then signed a 10-day.
So I still feel like he has, I don't know, in the right situation, he could maybe be something. But
down lower, you had Thomas Bryant, Dylan Brooks, Monte Morris. Yeah, it's not bad.
I was high on PJ Dozier. I remember that.
It was definitely first round heavy though.
Yeah, where there wasn't much. I forget. There's like a.
I like the small forwards. I like Tatum, Isaac, and Josh Jackson, but Jackson just turned out to be a nutcase. But
I think I've kind of I thought Wagner should have been maybe a top 15 pick. I think I kind of nailed that based on what I've seen. Based on what he showed last year, I think if there was a redraft, he would be a top 15 pick.
Wagner, wasn't he 2018?
Yeah. I'm just thinking back the past few years, guys that I've been right.
I thought talking specifically about 2017.
So I've definitely been wrong on some guys too. I was wrong on Gary Trent Jr. I was specific because I knew you were on the list with 2017 because we were talking about it, but yeah.
Captain called LeBron being a star in 2003 draft. So good job, Captain.
I mean, Dame was my favorite prospect ever before we drafted him. I've never that is the one I've nailed more than any other. You know what I mean? Which a lot of Blazer fans could maybe say, but I was literally the 2 weeks leading up to the draft. I had some friends that were Blazer fans, and I was like, we gotta draft this guy named Lillard. If we draft anybody but this guy, I'm gonna be very pissed. Like, I was so on board that train, man. I was so excited when we drafted. I wanted him and Myers. So I was wrong on Myers, okay? I was wrong on Myers, but I was on board the train for both of them. So I was so excited after that draft. One of them panned out. One of them became FaZe Hammer. Oh, shit. God. Freaking Myers, man.
Myers. Trevin says, I called Elijah Hughes being a star.
Hey, whoever like is a sleeper in this year's draft, somebody's going to be able to say, hey, look, the draft will make you feel really dumb, tough not to read stuff back and not cringe on a lot of things. Yeah, like me thinking Devin Robinson was going to be really good.
I got to be honest, man. It was so hard just watching YouTube videos and not getting to like hear about workouts or combine measurements and stuff. Like that made it like way harder. And it's gonna try to make it it's gonna make it to where it's gonna be a lot more dumb luck than actual scouting, you know.
Yeah. You know what was tough this year was watching Darius Baisley play with absolutely no confidence. Because me and you were both like really high on him, and I'm still really high on him if he plays with some goddamn confidence. Because when I watched him play, he would play so unconfident, like so timid. Yeah. It's just like he wouldn't like do what I feel like he can do if he just had confidence. You know what I mean? That could be not playing any college ball, jumping straight to the NBA, and you know, hopefully he develops that. But that was super frustrating because I'd watch him and dude would just like not. Dude looked so scared out there. It was like. Oh, that was frustrating. But what's like your number one like prospect that you nailed, like sleeper prospect? Do you have one off the top of your mind?
Trying to think off the top of my head. I'm not sure. I really liked both Giannis and Gobert in that draft.
Yeah. I remember being intrigued by Giannis. Like, I remember being intrigued, and then, I don't know, the foreign guys are always intriguing, I think. Yeah. I mean, you look at this year, you got I don't even know how to say his name, Poku. I like that shortened, but I don't know, I'm trying to think, because I feel like there's somebody I'm forgetting that was like a second rounder that I nailed, but I can't remember.
I have a lot more where I'm like, I wouldn't draft this guy, and then he gets drafted in the lottery, and he sucks, you know?
Yeah.
That goes back a pretty long way for me. It's probably easier to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, those are... I mean, my guy is a Caro this year, so we'll see how that ends up. But yeah, I don't know. I can't really remember off the top of my head. I'm gonna have to go back and look through drafts now. But yeah, I'm gonna definitely try and do research on every prospect and do a full board.
This is way before your time, but I thought it was absolutely criminal that Paul Pierce fell to 10th in that draft.
Really?
And I was like, dude, this is like the worst mistake these teams are making.
What draft was that?
Must have been 98, 99-ish. Let me see. 98.
Yeah. I remember I was a big Torian Prince fan.
But you had Dirk at 9. But like no one knew anything about Dirk. Everyone was like, what the hell is Dallas doing? But yeah, you had Olowokandi. Bibby turned out to be okay. LaFrance was okay. Jameson was okay. Vince Carter obviously good. Tractor Trailers, R.I.P.
Tractor Trailer.
Jason Williams was exciting. I wouldn't say he was like great though. Larry Hughes was solid but not good. Yeah, Pierce fell all the way to 10th.
God, I like some random prospects. I was a big Cameron Payne fan. I don't remember why.
A lot of people think he's the next thing.
Cameron Payne.
Year. He dominated the G League this year, and everyone's like, oh, Cameron Payne, yeah, I remember that guy.
I mean, like, he has, like, I mean, a guy dominating G League like that, to me, that just shows like he has the upside. He just can't figure it out on an NBA level. Like, I don't know. I mean, I thought he could be like a Mike Conley type point guard because I really liked like his float game, his in between game, and thought the thing is he hasn't been able to hit threes. Like that's a big thing. Now more important than it even was back in 2015.
Who'd you say?
Cameron Payne. He just hasn't been able to shoot well enough to like incorporate other aspects. Like shooting can empower other aspects of your game, so that's the thing is he hasn't been a good enough shooter. I did kind of like Bobby Portis. Now I hate him. God, that draft was I'm looking at the 2015 draft, that second round. Literally, like from 45 on, only 3 players have played in the NBA, and they're Norman Powell, good player, Dakari Johnson, and Brandon Dawson. There was absolutely there's so many guys that haven't even played. You're looking at like Satnam Singh, Bamera, the Indian guy that played for like a year or something before he got into the draft.
Right around there was like 2 or 3 years in a row where like the second round just became all stash guys, and like hardly any of them panned out. And I think that was around the year where oh no, this might have been before that, but we traded our pick to Minnesota, but we drafted for them, and they drafted someone that wasn't even draft eligible from like Qatar or something.
I think I'm looking at Wikipedia. I think that might have been 2012.
Yeah,
maybe. Like... I was high on no, I forget his name. This is interesting. I didn't know anything about Jokic. I don't remember knowing anything about him.
Well, see, that's the problem. Like every few years, like someone like that hits.
I know
and then everyone's like, gotta find the next Jokic. You gotta sign, like draft Georgios, thinking he's the next Giannis.
I don't think he's Giannis.
He's a mix between Giannis and one other player.
Possibly be a role player, and is a guy who like isn't on radars, and he could be a role player. Like that's. I wasn't high on Aaron Gordon when he came to the draft. Came out of the draft. I think I've kind of nailed that. Jeez, man. I liked Adrian Payne. A lot of people liked Adrian Payne, though. Then he just didn't end up being anything. Jeez, I've missed a lot. I can't remember a lot of my opinions, though. Like, that's what's frustrating with this. I'm trying to, like, remember who I liked.
Well, from now on, they'll be on video.
I know. We're going to be looking back 10 years from now. Our hits and misses the past 10 years.
Later, Ben, darling.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna wrap up this stream in a second.
Yeah, sounds good. It's been 2 hours.
I've just been looking through these draft classes. This was like a post game stream in terms of timing. Yeah. 2017 is gonna be the last draft I look at because. Jeez, man, that draft was so fun. That was like the last year Draft Express did videos, I think, and that was like when their videos like became top notch.
Yeah.
I think the biggest mistake.
They're so good.
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake in like my scouting in the past is not like valuing, like not paying enough attention to like how guys move with the ball, if that makes sense. Like and like a player's feel for the game. So, like, this year I'm trying to really value that more than I've taken into account in past years, if that makes sense. Because, like, you can have, like, a guy who's really athletic, but if it doesn't, like, translate to productivity on the basketball court, then, it doesn't mean much, Like, Pat Connaughton's, like, a great athlete, but he's not, like, a basketball. Like, he doesn't really utilize it all that much in the game of basketball, if that makes sense. So
yeah.
The one second round pick that I can name off the top of my head that I think I've nailed just based off this past season is DeAnthony Melton. I was really high on DeAnthony Melton. And he kind of tapered off near the end of the year, but I think he showed this year like what I thought he could possibly be. I was high on Shake Milton as well, and he was picked 54th next to like Vincent Edwards, Devin Hall, Kuboka, Ray Spalding, Kevin Hurdy, Tony Carr, So I feel like that was a guy I nailed. I was really high on Alizé Johnson. That I haven't nailed him, but I was high on Shake Milton. I was high on Bruce Brown. It was 42nd. That was a good pick, I think. And I was high on Mitchell Robinson. I thought he should have been like a top 15 pick. So Mitch Robinson, Bruce Brown, D'Anthony Melton, Shake Milton, all from that draft. I think I like nailed. Because this was like the first draft I can remember that I like. I was also a big fan of Devontae Graham. Wow. That's like the one draft I nailed, I think. That was the one, even though I loved Elie Okobo.
Stupid Phoenix.
Yeah. I still feel like if he went somewhere else. That's the thing with a lot of these guys. It's like...
Well, Melton, too. He got out of there and finally showed something.
Exactly. I mean, and Elliot, like Phoenix has like 6 point guards. They have like LaQ. They have Jerome, which I guess they're combo guards maybe. But got Javon Carter. You had Tyler John. They have so many like combo point guard type of players. Rubio. Like... I don't know. Phoenix definitely wasn't a good situation for him. I thought Memphis was perfect for Carter. Then they got rid of him. Yeah. Anyway, it's kind of interesting to go back and look through this. That second round, though, was actually a really good second round in 2018, I think.
Alex Wolf says, how would you redraft the 2012? He'd go AD, Beal, Dame. You put Beal ahead of Dame?
What?
No way.
Bro.
No way. No way.
Are you a Blazer fan, bro? What?
At the time, too, like, I want to say it was his first 3 years. Beal had major injury issues, too. Dame's been fairly durable. He's only missed a handful of games in a couple of years, yeah. I would definitely go Dame, too, out of that draft.
Jake agreed with me on Melton. If me, you, and Jake all agree on like a second round prospect, then he's like almost guaranteed to be good. I feel like, to be honest, because we all value different things. So if we're liking what we see, like in different areas of different perspectives, like, because the Anthony Melton, man, because he said he liked the Anthony Melton. So who's your second round sleepers then, Jake? We'll end off the stream with that because I'm curious.
This year.
Yeah. Who are yours while he types then? I wanna hear his second rounders, but
well, you already know one of mine.
Scylla. What do you think of Scylla? Because me and Eric are very divided on Scylla. I want to hear what Jake thinks about Scylla.
It's so weird because I don't even know whether these guys are going to be second rounders versus first rounders.
Yeah.
I do kind of like Jay Scrubb. I think if Marcus Howard goes to a team where he's like a scorer off the bench, he could be okay. I'm not saying he's a great prospect, but I think in the right situation, he could be an acceptable second-round pick type guy.
I'm really surprised to see him say Tillman, to be honest, but I'll do more research on him.
I do kind of like Trey Jones as like a backup point guard as well.
Yeah.
I
do think Najee Marshall has a little bit of intrigue, just as like because he's like good athlete, can play make a little bit, has to improve his shot, but he's like an intriguing project, I think.
Alex says he remembers 2010. He thought Evan Turner was going to be all-time great NBA player. He had a lot of Brandon Roy similarities.
Yeah.
So that's not too bad of a miss.
If that dude could shoot threes well, completely change his game, his impact, like,
and maybe keep his weight a little under control.
True. Jalen Smith, I'm kind of met on. Kenyon Martin Jr. I don't know enough about. Jalen Smith is just like doesn't provide, and I don't know. He has like no skill, and so he's like a center, but like he's kind of undersized. He reminds me of like a Thomas Robinson type of player. like a
There's
little bigger, but
yeah. There's a lot of guys that I would not take in the first round, but if they snuck to like our range in the second round would be sleepers. But I mean, they're way too highly rated. Like, like Nico Mannion and Josh Green and Nuwara and those type of guys. But I would not take any of those guys in the first round.
I think Nuwara could maybe be something. Just as a like he can shoot and do a little bit off the dribble. I don't know, like he has some skill, but I like that Jake kind of sees Mila, Marshall in the same way.
I watched a little bit of Tyler Bay last night, like full game. Yeah, if he could shoot a little better, he'd be pretty good. I like his defensive intensity. He's one of those guys that looks older than he is, though.
Yeah. I really want to know what Jake thinks of Scylla, so because me and Eric are very divided on it. I know Jake doesn't like Killian Hayes, which I really like Killian Hayes. Eric isn't as high on Killian Hayes.
I'm still pretty high on him.
Yeah, just not as high. I like Killian Hayes. I like Halliburton.
I like Maladon. Teo.
Yeah, I always thought it was Theo. Yeah, so I want to hear his opinion on Halliburton.
Tough one for me. What? I don't know what the...
Because I have Halliburton 5th. My big board goes Anthony Edwards, James Wiseman, what's his face? Obi Toppin, Killian Hayes, Tyrese Halliburton. That's my top 5. Okongwu is 6th. Yeah, that's the other thing. He needs to improve his right hand. I do agree with that.
I was wondering if he was talking about Scylla or Killian. They're going to be talking about
Killian
both.
needs to improve his right hand.
Borderline top 10.
Because he's like good. He can like finish in like unique ways with his left, inside scoops, that type of thing. Like he's a really good finisher with his left. The problem is he over relies on it sometimes when he like could easily go to his right and get an easy finish, and he makes a shot a lot harder. It needs to be by like trying to use his left, or he gets blocked because he tries to use his left. So that'll be.
See, the thing about Scylla though is like I took him at 41. It's not like I used a first round pick on him or anything.
Curious what Jake thinks about Halliburton though, because I'm high on Halliburton. I have him 5th. That's like the last guy I really can think of that I want your opinion. Oh, and Akaro. Doesn't he like Akaro? I hate Akaro.
Yeah, he likes Akaro.
He likes Akaro. I hate Akaro. I think his lack of a shot is really going to hold him back.
Halliburton's back in lottery, he says.
I think Halliburton's the 5th best player in the draft. To be honest, I'm a huge fan. I think he can be a guy with like no weaknesses that does a lot of different things well. He obviously has some weaknesses, but right now. But I'm just saying projected long term.
I don't know who he's talking about.
Halliburton. Can't play much on ball. I think he can play on ball. Like, he can pass, he can handle the ball. I mean, he needs to get stronger with his ball handling, and he needs to be more aggressive of a scorer. But that is, like, the one question about him is, like, can he be a primary playmaker or a secondary guy? I think he can be both, or he'll end up at least good at, being maybe a 2. Or being a 1. Like he'll find his role, and once he like kind of like fits in, either he'll be like a primary facilitator and that's the way his progression will go, or he'll be like an off ball, 2 guard, because he's big enough to play that and play off the ball and defend 2s. Like he needs to get stronger, but I think like once he kind of like slots into one of those, it kind of depends on whatever team he gets drafted to, but they'll develop him as one or the other, and I think he has the potential to be good in both roles depending on what a team develops him for. But yeah, I'm not. Akaro is like I think the one the biggest disagreement with me and Jake on this is I'm just not an Akaro fan. Which watch him blow up, but I think I was a little bit like more critical like Michael Porter Jr. and Zion Williamson because I thought they were like a little too overhyped. I do think I might have been a little overcritical because of that. I still believe I still don't think Zion is ever going to be a top 5 player in the league. I still don't think Michael Porter Jr. is ever going to be like an all-star. Rotation guy on good teams, Obi. My big lineup, man, is Larry Markkinen, Jared Allen, and Obi Toppin for the Spurs. What? Why are you laughing, bro?
Not one of those guys can play small forward.
No, I know, but like that's my big lineup. No, not like my big lineup in terms of all three of them on the floor at the same time. Like my big rotation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant you were gonna play the three together. That's why I was laughing.
No. I mean, I think the floor spacing would be fine if Markkinen could get a shot back, but defensively, you don't want any of those guys playing the three. And then, yeah, I don't know. It's definitely the Spurs would be the one team to like play those three guys together, though. But no, that's my big rotation, so I like that, man. You got a lot of different things. You got, I don't know. And I got Killian Hayes, Lonnie Walker is like my future backcourt right now, so I'm feeling pretty good right now. About to win this chip in like 4 years, and then brag about it nonstop for 4 more years.
Come on, Trevin.
Jared Allen can play
smart.
the 3. Sounds like people saying Whiteside can play the 4.
Yeah.
Akaro gives me Jimmy vibes, but has no pull-up game. Yeah, Akaro's shot is so broken, man. I don't know. Like, Akaro just... I don't think he's going to be able to create for others or create for himself if guys are just sagging on him. His strength and athleticism isn't going to be as much of a difference maker against NBA athletes, NBA players. He's not going to be able to rely on that to just bully his way in or, jump over, dunk over guys the same way. I mean, he still can, but... he's not going to have that same advantage. Without that advantage, without being able to shoot, I feel like he's going to get stuck. As a prospect. I think Obi and Mini offensively is perfect fit. Defensively, it's rough.
I love him in Golden State, too. I mean, I would hate that, but I think that would be a perfect pick for them.
I think Mini, I mean, you got Karl-Anthony Towns with his three-point shooting. You allow Obi to like play to post up. You give him that floor spacing, but then Obi can space too and space for Karl-Anthony Towns. Like I think offensively, I like them. Defensively, like I don't think Obi's a bad defender, but Karl-Anthony Towns is a bad defender. I think you have to have like a good defensive power forward next to Cat.
See, Jake says he likes Okoro and Mini, and I think that's probably the worst place for him because they already got Culver and Okogie. That's like 2 similar type players already.
I mean, like I like his fit with like. I think that's one of the better fits in terms of like Karl-Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell playing off them, but you already have a lot of wings like that. So if you're looking to move off some wings like that, or if like Culver or Okogie can develop a 3-point shot, maybe, but you already have some guys like that.
Jake's drunk.
Is he? But so like, because I think during the draft I was saying just thinking of like D'Angelo and Karl-Anthony Towns and thinking of Carlos a perfect fit there, just because I think you need in the NBA. I think you need at least 3, but preferably 4 shooters on the court at all times. And with Akaro, that's hard because your center and power forward have to be able to shoot that. But in Mini, you have that. It used to be you need 3 shooters on the court at all time, like 2 or 3. Now it's 3 or 4. We can talk more about draft in the future, though. I definitely like talking draft with Jake.
I still don't know if we have like 2 months till the draft or like 4 months.
For real. Hopefully we can get some clarity on that sometime soon.
I think what they said is if they have to cancel the season, they'll probably just go forward with the draft normal time. if they have the draft or if they end up playing the season out or doing anything with the rest of the season, that they'll probably move the draft back just because they like it to be after the season, not during it.
Yeah, it's so hard to tell how how COVID's going to play out. Because, I mean, you got this remdesivir drug, which has promise, which, I mean, like, hasn't been, like, fully, you know, still got to do some trials on it. But the thing is, if that's super effective, I don't exactly know how that's going to change things. I don't know if we find, you know, I don't know how much that's going to change things. I just have no idea, like, what, you know, experts on this thing would recommend if we found a treatment that was very effective. Like, could we go back to complete normalcy? Could we go back to, like, playing sports, you know, without fans? Or not back to that. Could we do that if we have a treatment that's very effective? But then what if one of those players gets sick with an effective treatment? Do we then not worry about it if all the players are isolated, since they're not a threat to the public, and since the disease isn't really a threat to the players if there's effective treatment? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know exactly how that plays out. And then you get the other part of it, which, like, they're thinking a lot more people have had it than is being reported, like a lot more people, and more people are asymptomatic than they previously believed. Like, how does that play into things? I don't know. You know, I mean, those are like the two like main factors that make this situation just completely in the air for the NBA, that we're gonna have to wait on to really determine like what the chances we could even resume.
Yeah.
But without good news like that, I don't think there was a chance. But now it's like, because more people having it wouldn't be bad news if they're immune to it, you know. But we still got to figure out that, like, are people immune to it?
That's the problem. Like, people think, like, oh, if I've had it already, I can go out and do whatever I want because I can't get it again. But we don't know if that's 100% true or not.
So you got a lot of You got a lot of factors right now. Best case scenario would be a lot of people have had it than previously thought, and a lot of them have immunity. So you're building herd immunity, and then combined on top of that, you know, testing, we're able to figure that crap out because we can't seem to figure that out. And then on top of that, you have a very effective treatment in remdesivir, and that gets rolled out faster than expected.
Hey, but let's go have rallies against staying at home.
I saw a poll today that said like the majority of the country heavily disapproves of that, which kind of surprised me. I thought there'd be more people like, oh yeah, we need to open up the economy again. So that kind of made me feel better. Like, oh, it's just like a small section of idiots that are going out there protesting. That pisses me off because like people close to me work in the healthcare system. They might have to take care of somebody that gets COVID because they're going to one of those stupid ass rallies, or they're inspired by those stupid rallies, so they are more careless. And then, you know, all of a sudden you have more people on the COVID floor because you have more people with COVID because of that. And then, you know, somebody I'm close to could get floated down to there and have to take care of them. And then they could get sick and they could get somebody around. You know what I mean? It's just like a domino effect because these people literally can't handle staying at home for 5 weeks. Like I get it. It's tough on the mental health or whatever. I've kind of been struggling, you know, a little bit, but like it's part of what it is. You know what I mean? I'm not out here thinking, oh, we should open up the economy. Like, I get it. That's really tough on people, but it's something that we got to do at this point. And it's just like, it's funny to see, all these people who criticize others for being snowflakes, or, you know what I mean? Like those types of people, or like for protesting like legitimate stuff. Those same people are now all of a sudden protesting this. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of ironic, I think. So it just pisses me off. I'm glad that a lot of other people were pissed off about it. You know, I tweeted out some guy who works in the White House comparing those protesters to Rosa Parks. Like, are you kidding me? Because I reacted to that. That was the tweet I had to that. Some of you guys might have saw it. That was my exact reaction to that. Like, it's just ridiculous, man. You're realizing how stupid some people are in this country and how ridiculous some members of our government are. I'm not even going to go more into depth on that. But yeah, Eric, you got me ranting now, man.
Because hate crimes are equal to being asked to stay at home and not spread a virus.
God, dude. Like, I don't understand what connects in the brain that makes somebody think that's a good idea to put out there? That's in the public eye to make that comparison. There's like, does he really believe that? If he really believes that, he should not be in that position because he's not mentally sane or mentally all there. Tory be ranting, bro. I've been paying so much more attention to politics and stuff. Now you guys can get me ranting about like this since we don't got, the trade deadline to rant about anymore. Like, it's not, why didn't we trade Whiteside? It's like, why the hell are these idiots protesting? I've never gotten fired up about politics until like the past like 3 months, 2 to 3 months. And now, yeah. So I'm an adult now, I guess, I guess I am officially an adult because I'm getting pissed off about politics. Thank you. I appreciate it. I've transformed. I've evolved. And I hate it. God. Anyway. Collab with who?
Oh, Captain said he's working on a collab with Dame Dollar.
Oh, Captain, of course. Alrighty, well, I'm going to wrap up this podcast. Thank you guys for chilling with us. 3 hour, I need to like rebrand it and change the overlay because it's supposed to be Blazers Uprise Live now. But I will be coming out with a new live channel for like my podcasts and other streams and whatnot. And I want this to just be videos. Part of the reason I've been discouraged making videos is like doing videos and streams together on one channel cancels each other out in terms of like outreach. Because if you go back and look at my mailbags at the start of the season before we really started streaming, they were getting like 5,000 views, 6,000 views, like stuff like that because they were getting recommended to people. And then, since we streamed, it's just like, people haven't really been seeing the videos I put out there. And like, I should do it for you guys, but it's also just kind of discouraging to put something out that doesn't really get seen, put 2-3 hours into something like that. So I want to split up the content, do podcasts and streams on a Blazers Uprise Live channel, and then do videos over here. I've also kind of been busy with this whole mock off season thing, so I've kind of put videos to the side because I know I dropped a video talking about how I wanted to release more videos, and then we started this mock off season. And I've been all caught up in this and whatnot and all that. So that's kind of the plan this week. So our Friday podcast, I don't want to call it podcast anymore. I want to call it Blazers Uprise Live. I think that has a better sound to it. That'll be Friday on that new channel, I think, unless I get lazy and completely forget. But yeah, so that'll be Friday, and yeah, that's the plan. So anything else left to plug, Eric, or am I good to sign off?
I think we're good.
All right,
been fun talking to all you guys.
Yep. Hope you guys have a good rest of your night. Stay safe, stay distanced. With that being said, I'll catch you guys later. As always, peace out. Go Blazers.